Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live, actually, from Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville, 3417 North College Avenue. John Neighbors alongside Andrew Ellis. Curtis Wilkerson is out today, all right?
Fired.
The chat is going to blow up. Where's Curtis? He's out today, and it's just me and Ellis. That's who you're going to have to put up with. But, Andrew, it's good to actually be in person, instead of a little remote. But it's good also to be here at Alumni Hall, getting everybody ready for the Razorback weekend.
Yeah, it's great to be at Alumni Hall. And when we learned that Curtis was not going to be here with us today, he had to go attend to very important matters. My first immediate thought was, we're usually kind of crammed into a little tight space there, so maybe it's not the worst thing for us to be doing the Alumni House show. But they cleared out the runway for us. We got a nice little setup. As everyone can see, we're rocking the Arkansas baseball jerseys, which are new, and they're awesome, and they're in store. They're in stock here. The pins, the grays, the reds, the creams, pull up and come get them. They look awesome. I'm never taking this sucker off.
I know. It's like as soon as I put it on, I'm like, man, I'm ready now. I'm ready. And then they also have the camo hats. These are the new camo hats for the Razorback baseball team. And they're going to have the rest of the hats here soon, as far as the red hats and white hats and everything. So, yeah, they got full stock. They got not only the great jerseys, which I was going to pull this up because if we want to look good, I mean, we got to look like this guy. Exactly. And that's what we're doing right now. We're looking as good as Dave Van Horn, at least trying to, with a lot less wins. But still, they got everything in stock, folks. Like, yeah, plenty of these Razorback baseball jerseys. They got basketball jerseys. They got polos. They got Johnny O. Columbia. I mean, this place is stocked. And anything and everything you want for the Razorback weekend, whether it's the gymnastics meet tonight, Razorback basketball tomorrow against Oklahoma, or the baseball season starting up here very soon, this is the place to be. So come on in. And also, if you come in store while we're here, just give us a little fist bump. And you're going to get a gift card here at Alumni Hall. So while supplies last, I got to make sure we do that.
You remember that time we had the guy that gave us the fist bump and it was not related to this? He just was like, just saw us and was like, hey, fist bump. And like had no idea that we were doing a giveaway. And we were like, do we give him something? I don't know.
Yep. Well, we're going to give you something. And again, while supplies last, we'll let you know when we run out. But yeah, come in here at Alumni Hall, 3417 North College Avenue in Fayetteville. You can also shop them online if you can't make it into Fayetteville at InsideArkansas.com/alumni hall. So we're going to have plenty of things to talk about here today on the show. We're, of course, going to get into a little weekend preview for Arkansas basketball. Aaron Torres of Fox Sports Radio, as well as the Aaron Torres podcast. He's going to be joining us. Had a little pre-recorded interview talking to him about the thing with Razorback basketball and what's been going on. So we'll get into that. We'll get into your chats, and we'll get into your phone calls if you want in on the conversation of 478-344-6623. But I will say real quick, too, while we're here, before we got set up, Jordan Weber was here.
She was here.
She was getting ready for the gymnastics meet tonight. So I feel like every time we come here, there's somebody of note that walks into the store and gets something from Alumni Hall.
Big day for Jordan Weber. Huge gymnastics meet for the gym backs against the top 3 LSU, or the number 2 in the country, something like that. Bud Walton Arena is going to be jumping tonight, and still tickets available.
That's right.
That's last we heard. So yeah, everybody go pack the Bud. Get your red gear here also. So yeah, that's exciting. I showed up a little bit late, as I tend to do. I did not know for sure. Like, I was over here chilling, getting set up, and I looked over and saw her checking out. Yeah, and I was like, it looks like Jordan Weber. But I didn't know. I didn't want to be weird. And then when she walked out, you're like, hey, did you know Jordan Weber's here? And I was like, yes,
yeah, I totally did.
I was trying not to be weird. But yeah, stunning how much Jordan Weber looks like Michelle Wilkerson.
Yes, there is a strong resemblance there. I've never seen him in the room at the same time either. So
exactly, it's kind of convenient. Michelle goes out of town, we see Jordan Weber. I'm just saying.
Just saying. But yeah, it's good to see her. And again, should be a great weekend for Razorback sports. And again, gymnastics be tonight, and then Razorback basketball. I guess 7:30 tomorrow night. Late game for the Razorback.
Late tip, late post game.
Yeah, I thought about doing this as far as our Alumni Hall question of the day. And we'll get to everybody's opinions on this. Like, do you like night Saturday basketball games? Because here's why I ask. In football, it's about night games, baby, all the time. Night games. And if you get an 11 a.m. games, I was like, oh, this sucks. This is terrible. But then in basketball, I think it's a relatively newer thing that they've started doing with late nights. I mean, when we go to Lexington, that game's at, I think, 9 o'clock local time over there.
In the middle
maybe.
Of the night.
Yeah, it's like the game won't get over with until 1 a.m. Eastern time there in Lexington. So you're going to see a few of these, but yeah, I don't think I'm a fan of them. I don't think I'm a fan of the late night games on Saturdays for basketball.
I'm not either, and I think there's a lot of factors that go into play. With football, obviously, yeah, you get the night game, you get to see the night sky, like it looks cooler. Obviously, with basketball, visually, indoor. It doesn't matter if you're playing it at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. It's going to look the same. And also, we all spend, diehard Hog fans are always spending your Saturday. If you've got a sporting event, whatever time it is, you spend all day looking forward to that. Football, that's a whole different thing where you're tailgating, you're walking around campus, you're with the boys. I'm sure there are some people that are going to be pre-gaming for Arkansas basketball, but it's a little bit different. And so I feel like that's less of a thing, especially these days when it's freezing cold. Yeah. It's not like anybody's going to be outside. So people are just going to be kind of sitting around the house waiting on Arkansas basketball. I like the noon, maybe the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock tip. That is usually the move. I have some news to announce.
I always love Andrew Ellis's news.
So this is huge. Everybody's been asking about this, and we actually had a question earlier. Do we have an official scrimmage time for Arkansas baseball today? We do. They will scrimmage at 2:10 p.m. today. Your starting pitchers: Gabe Gackle, Gage Wood. Gabe Gackle, Gage Wood. Dave Van Horn called him Gage Gackle the other day. And I was, he's talking about Gage Wood at the same time. I caught him on that. Tomorrow's scrimmage will be at 12:40 p.m. So we were just talking about what you do before a basketball game. You go to Baum-Walker Stadium and watch a scrimmage. And then Sunday, they will have first pitch at 12:35. So for anybody looking to watch some baseball this weekend, that is what time you can do it.
Okay, so today it's going to be both the G words, going after with the Gackle and Gage, even though first and last names, but still. But yeah, it's going to be cool because what was it that Gabe Gackle was named? Was it Baseball America? Had him as the SEC Pitcher of the Year?
SEC preseason SEC Pitcher of the Year. D1 Baseball also had him and Zach Root as preseason All-Americans. Perfect Game also had him as a preseason All-American as a relief pitcher. They're just, didn't get the memo, but yeah, Gabe Gackle. Yeah. Now I've got myself all in a blender here, but he's getting a lot of preseason accolades. The Razorback baseball team, specifically the pitching staffs, getting a lot of love this preseason. Maybe too much love. When they first got that number 13 ranking, we were like, oh, underrated, flying under the radar. Not really the case. And so if you want to watch a first rounder, come out to Baum-Walker Stadium today. Not many places you can do that.
Yeah. And you're going to is there going to be bombastic dealing with this?
There will be at 5:30. I scheduled it for 5:30. It might end up being a little bit earlier than that if they roll through this thing. But yeah, tonight, join us on this exact YouTube channel, The Bombastic Podcast. We're going to be going live to break down the scrimmage. We'll talk about the stats, who stood out, all that. But it's going to be a live chat edition. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from the community. We're just going to be talking baseball all night. So if you want to, maybe I'll still be wearing this cool jersey, but if you want to talk baseball, we will definitely be doing a lot of that tonight. So appreciate everybody who's been tapping in so far.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So yeah, be sure to tap in for it. Camo Hog says here on the chat, Alumni Hall has the jerseys in already. Yes, they do. As we mentioned, they got them all. So yeah, come by and check them out here in store, 3417 North College Avenue. And again, you can also get them online at insidearkansas.com/alumni hall. So yeah, a little baseball action happening today. And, tomorrow with Razorback basketball going up against Oklahoma, I know people are still, if you want to call it flying high, however you want to put it, when it comes to the basketball team beating Georgia the other night and what was a pretty intense ending to a game and a hard-fought, gritty win for the Razorbacks. But it's all going to be for naught, though, if you don't follow it up with a win tomorrow night in Bud Walton Arena. That is crucial. And I know that every cliche you could throw out there is like, oh, is it a must win? Oh, how is this team going to do? They need to go out there and perform. Yes. But Oklahoma, just being honest, is not a great basketball team. They're not a team that is going to the NCAA tournament. And you've already lost to one of those teams this year in LSU. You cannot lose to another one, especially at home, especially coming off of a win. We know that the NCAA tournament outlook is pretty bleak for the Razorbacks right now. But if you really, truly want to have some sort of goodwill and some good motions and good future here, especially going in with a week off, heading into Lexington next Saturday, you got to take care of business at home against Oklahoma. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. There's no excuses. There's nothing. You have to beat this Oklahoma team tomorrow night in Bud Walton.
Pretty much. We're kind of right there. We felt like the other day was pretty much a must-win game. We've actually been throwing around the must-win terminology a good bit here lately. And Arkansas lost a couple of those. So really the margin for error continues to be very close to zero. And you mentioned how Oklahoma, got off to a nice start. Not one of the powerhouses of the SEC. Like when you're looking preseason at the schedule, this is one everyone had circled as a win. And if you just look at what Arkansas has coming down the chute, with a road trip to Kentucky, with Bama coming to Fayetteville, another tough road trip coming with A&M and Auburn, like you really need to build up as much goodwill as you can. When you're 1-5, you really need all the help you can get. And so Arkansas, this is one that a banana peel Arkansas cannot afford to slip on, especially being at home, especially because you got the weight off your shoulders. You're on the board now. Now you're you're alive. We've made sure you're good. You can't afford to take another step back, and you're facing a worse team than the bad team that you just beat on Wednesday. So it would really take the wind out of Arkansas's sails. And I think, like you said, you get the week off leading up to Kentucky. Arkansas fans need to spend that week with as much hope as possible. You get by Oklahoma, no matter how it looks, you at least can talk yourself into that. And so Arkansas fans need that week to kind of launch, get all fired up, talk some trash with BBN, and we'll all have a good time.
Yeah, because if you want to try to have any sort of goodwill or any sort of good vibes, you can do it. I mean, you played. I'm not going to say you played horrible against Georgia, but we talked about it. The shooting percentages and everything. You're not going to win another game like that where you shoot the ball as horribly as you did for Arkansas. Now, they did great from the free throw line. I mean, that's what won them the game, essentially, is how great they did from the free throw line. But shooting, 20-some-odd% from three, 35% from the field, that's just not going to get it done. And you can't afford to have that happen. And I think that's going to be probably one of, if not the most disappointing thing, is of Arkansas, after that type of win, after a gritty win, as they put it, to come out and have the same problems and have the same issues and look the same way. Because here's the thing, is Oklahoma's not a great basketball team, but they are good enough to beat you if you play like that again. Like, they're good enough to, not do what Georgia did in so many cases and really throwing the game away to you. They're good enough to beat you. So that's what you have to be careful of. That's what you have to be cautious of. And you just got to hope that, hey, maybe that feeling that they finally had, and you saw the celebrations and, Boogie Fland on the phone there, and, maybe that could finally be some encouragement, some uplifting, and some motivating that they have. But if they can't do it now, I don't know what it's going to take, because this is your time to really try to turn a corner. And it's all going to be for naught, and it's all going to be lost if you just play like crap again in front of what I think might be the best crowd tomorrow night, potentially, in Bud Walton this year.
I could see that, with it being a night game, that should help. And also just with the win, should give this fan base a little something to get behind. But I think there's probably a lot of Hog fans who kind of did what we said earlier, where they looked ahead and saw this might be our best chance to watch Arkansas win an SEC game at home. You can't imagine a 1-5 team can't be overlooking anybody, right? Like, this can't be a situation where Arkansas gets caught, and with a week off kind of looming there. I guess it's a little bit of a trap game, but I think it's one where if you're Arkansas, you still need to be playing with that desperation. And we've thrown a lot of shots in reference to Oklahoma as a bad team.
Oh, yeah.
Georgia's a bad team. And look, I wouldn't say they're good, but in the SEC this year, a bad SEC team in 2025 is not the same as a bad SEC team in 2015. Like, all these teams have a real chance to make the tournament. And if you have Arkansas that played with some desperation in the second half on Wednesday night, think about what Oklahoma's got to be playing with. Because I'd imagine, I haven't looked at their schedule after they leave Arkansas, but they're kind of digging themselves out of a hole as well. They need this game pretty badly. And so I would imagine they're coming into Fayetteville looking to play spoiler. And it's a team that beat Arkansas last year. They've had some recent history there in Tulsa. It'll be nice to see this game not in the BOK Center. I think this is definitely one that Porter Mosier and his squad definitely had to have circled. Because, look, if Arkansas is doing that with Oklahoma, other teams are doing that with Arkansas, where they're saying, this is our chance to get right. We've got a team, they'll quit if we get up early. We can really take the wind out of their sails. And so Arkansas's just got to band together, play 40 minutes of basketball. And, they got a lot of help from Georgia on Wednesday. They do not need to expect that against Oklahoma. They might get it because Oklahoma's just not that good. But I think Arkansas really needs to come out, set the tone early, show some progress. Because, look, you can be a bad team and win tomorrow, but we really need to see something that could make us believe this team could really turn it around and really go on a run. And you can only do it one step at a time, and so you just got to take care of the task in front of you. But I think that's something that Hog fans who are maybe trying to talk themselves into this basketball team in this basketball season could definitely really afford to see a full 40-minute effort where the team looks good. They do what they're supposed to do. That's one thing this team doesn't like to do typically is do what they're supposed to do. And so it is kind of weird that a week ago it was like, man, this team might go winless. And now we're like, hey, don't slip on the banana peel. Don't lose a game that you're very much expected to win. We'll see if they can pass this very doable test.
Yeah. It's very easy to pass it. You just got to, do it. It's one of those things where you could, fill in the answers a certain way on the Scantron, like goose sees all down it and still pass. But what you can't do is just actually try but continue to fail. And then because you're going to end up failing. It's going to be bad for you no matter what. But yeah, we're here at Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville, folks, 3417 North College Avenue. Shopping them online at InsideArkansas.com/Alumni Hall. Come in, give us a fist bump. We'll give you a gift card to your number one and ultimate Razorback shopping destination right here in Fayetteville, too. So we'll get to some of your chats as well. Transplanted Texan says, Hogs lay an egg at home versus Oklahoma. They may lose the fan base for the remainder of the season.
I mean, I think this is accurate, and I think that's kind of what's at stake here. A win against Oklahoma doesn't mean a ton in the long run. I mean, they're currently in that 50 to 55 range of the net, so I don't know if that would qualify as like a top-tier win. It's not going to end up being a marquee win on Arkansas's resume or on their schedule. It's a can't lose. It's not a must-win. It's a can't lose is what it is. Because I think if you lose this game to Oklahoma, you're 1-6. It's really tough to see a path forward for this team making the NCAA tournament or even really being in that mix. If you beat Oklahoma, you still got a lot of work to do, but we can't even have the conversation if you piss down your leg tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely. Also, I love this from Shep. He just says, "Must be noon. Best show in the state is on." Hey, thanks, Shep.
That's a great comment.
Is that a Donald Duck with fist coming through his eyeballs? Is that his avatar?
I mean,
all right, cool.
I think so.
That's all right. Hey, listen, Shep, to each their own. Whatever.
You think that's an AI one?
I mean, at this point in time, who knows? Who can tell the difference at that? But it probably is. Also, Double H says, just tuning in, the work attire is electric. Yes, it is. It does. I feel like I'm ready to get in and take some BP right now. But yeah, it is very electric, and they got plenty in stock here at Alumni Hall. So, also, Patrick says, as I said, that game against Georgia is not sustainable. I think Georgia played to our level.
I mean, look, this is 100% accurate. I mean, like, what did Arkansas shoot from the field? They were 31% from the field,
awful.
3 of 22 from 3. It's definitely not a formula, and getting behind by 12, or they got behind by as many as 15, definitely not a formula you want to see continue, especially against better teams. I don't know if Oklahoma qualifies as a better team, but I think this is a big game for Arkansas. Because, look, if they win, say, 63 to 59, obviously we'll take it. We're not going to complain about any win. But if you do that, it becomes really tough to do the bit of like, oh yeah, this team's really going to go out there and beat Kentucky on the road, even though they just skated by 2 bad teams at home. But I think if Arkansas can really take a step forward, maybe show some signs of progress, maybe show, hey, we got the chip off, we got the weight off of our shoulders. We're back in the win column. Now we can really play some basketball. Maybe we can see some semblance of an identity, because I think that's been the most frustrating part about this Arkansas season is like anytime you feel like they're on the verge of maybe taking that next step, doing something cool, they just kind of hang out in the same area. Like they don't really make a ton of progress game to game. And so I feel like this game is a big opportunity to prove just that. I mean, losing, like we really can't even have the conversation. Like if they lose, it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
But I really do also think like there's different levels to win. I think the Georgia game was definitely one that Arkansas needed to have happen. They needed to win a game like that, but I don't think they want to make a living that way.
No, and especially, I know it brought up the free throw percentage. Boogie Flan was your best free throw shooter, and he was out in this game as in that route for the rest of the season, and he still shot 85% from the free throw line. I'm not saying that you'll never do that again, but that's not something you can bank on because as a team, you're shooting 72% from the free throw line. And if you take out Boogie Flan's 84% from the free throw line, that drops it to 68% that you're shooting from the free throw line without Boogie Flan. So it's like, you could, it's great and all, but you just can't to expect you to go in there and shoot 85% for the rest of the way from free throw line just ain't in the cards.
You sounded a little bit like Scott Steiner. You remember the whole promo he gave up about you got a 33% chance whenever you were doing the math. That was good. I like that.
Well, I just on the fly. I went to school once and put free throw percentages together, but still, it's gonna be a crucial game. And I think that the crowd will be into it, and the energy that hopefully the team just provides them some sort of way to stay excited and stay pumped up dealing with the game itself. So we get to a few of your chats here, folks, and as well as your phone calls, 478-344-6623. Grind to Shine TV says, all we learned that will change the game for our team on both offense, attack the basket, and defense, rebound, and close out on shooters. We will win out. We have top talent even without Boogie. We can shock.
Shout out to Grind to Shine TV. He's been very positive and uplifting in the chat here lately. He's been really hammering the drum that Arkansas is going to turn it around. He called it against Georgia. He said, this is going to be the turnaround game. We're going to shock the world. We're going to go on this awesome run. We'll see if he ends up being right. But listen, I think that you just got to take it one step at a time. I think the Georgia game, again, like we said, was a game that Arkansas needed. I don't know if that's necessarily how you want to live. I do think that if we're making a case for this team finding a real identity and something they can build on, we all kind of agree that it's going to have to come on the defensive end. And so while I don't want Arkansas to be in a ton of 62 to 58 slugfests, I think they kind of need to be prepared to win that way. The way that they rebounded, the effort that they had on the glass, That's how you beat bad teams. That's how you get away with having poor shooting performances. Of course, Arkansas needs to shoot a lot better. But I think if you're looking at this team and what can they accomplish down the stretch, we all, no doubt, the offense is definitely having a much lower ceiling without Boogie. Like that's just kind of how it works. You have one of your best playmakers, maybe your most talented player on the team overall. But I think this defense, it definitely took a step up the other night, and that's something that Curtis even kind of alluded to might happen without Boogie Flan, even though he does do a good job of creating some steals. Like Arkansas's team defense overall and their tenacity definitely went up a notch, and you just kind of need to continue that trend of guys kind of shooting above their weight class and really showing up and knowing that their top guys out and they got to step up and do things they're not used to doing. And so I think that if Arkansas can kind of harness that defensive effort and just shoot decent, like they don't have to turn it around and be a 50, 40, 90 type of team, but maybe 6 for 22 instead of 3 for 22. I think we could probably settle with that. And again, there's a lot of really good teams in the SEC. I don't know if Arkansas is ever going to be in a situation where they're really competing with the Auburns, maybe even the Kentuckys of the world. But I think if you play the way Arkansas did on Wednesday night, you add in a little bit better shooting, that's going to get the job done. And you can beat a lot of teams down the stretch. I mean, even the Mississippi States of the world, who's having a really good season, like they're not a team that just has so much talent that Arkansas can't keep up with. And so it'll be interesting to see. Arkansas is going to have to beat some pretty good teams. And they at least showed somewhat of a capability of doing that on Wednesday night. You saw the vision of it.
Yeah. It's just, those teams, and I think every team does, it seems like every time they come to Bud Walton, but, a team just gets hot from three, even if they're not a good 3-point shooting team, but they get hot from three, I just want to have Arkansas have one of those games just once where, I'm not saying that they are a great 3-point shooting team, so therefore it's going to happen, but it's just a matter of sometimes it happens in basketball. I want to see that. Maybe that happens tomorrow night. Maybe it's just like, man, Nelly Davis catches fire and Big Z's out there hitting some threes and, it just demoralizes them and they're just piling it on. That's what I would just love to see just one time. But again, like you said, take the win however it'll get there. But man, it's going to be brutal to watch another game if the shooting percentages are low. There's a ton of fouls and everything. Just like you said, to stew some confidence into going into Lexington next week. If you just play your best game of the season right here against Oklahoma, that's going to provide so much more fun and more intrigue. And we'll start to convince some fans that, hey, we're going to go in Lexington. I mean, this Kentucky team, they're playing Tennessee before. Tennessee may wear them down a little bit, and then they'll go in there. Like people just start to try to put it together the best they can.
I'm at least looking forward to that week of us doing the mental gymnastics and doing hey, can they do it? It's a lot easier to have that conversation. You go out there and you look pretty good. Maybe you knock down a few threes against Oklahoma. We want to see some real steps forward. I see this from Bobby G. He says Arkansas is favored by 2.5 against Oklahoma. I have not fact-checked this. I have not been checking the lines. I have no idea. I'm going to take Bobby's word for it because he's a good guy. We're just going to assume he's telling the truth. Are you surprised by that? That line seems a little bit low. I think the other day on the show, I was like, yeah, Arkansas will be favored by like 5 or 6.
I would
think.
They
were favored by 1 over Georgia, who's, I would say not like a massive step up above Oklahoma, but I would say like they're a better team. So it's 2.5 on Saracen right now.
According to Bet Saracen, it is 2.5, and the over/under set of 147. But yeah, I'm a little surprised because wasn't it 1.5 against Georgia, who was a much better team, and you think coming off of a win would maybe provide a little bit more. I don't know. So if I'm probably going to sprinkle a little bit on Arkansas minus 2.5, to be honest.
I'm going to be tempted to for sure. Yeah. Is that Vegas's way of saying a broken clock will not be right once again? Like you got to prove it to us before we really give you too much credit. And look, I'm not saying Arkansas should have been like double-digit favorites, but I feel like at home Arkansas is always going to get a little bit of a bump, and so I'm a little bit surprised by that line. But again, I think also Oklahoma's desperation is a really key factor here because I don't think we've said it all along. We don't think Oklahoma is an NCAA tournament team, and we're obviously in that situation with Arkansas. We don't know if they are either. I think the loser of this game is not eliminated from NCAA tournament contention. Obviously, you always have a chance to just win out in this SEC, but I think the loser of this game is really in a deep, deep hole. And so it's going to be very interesting to see just which team has that desperation. You'd think Arkansas at home is in front of what we think is going to be an improved crowd, should kind of get that nod. And I mean, hell, preseason, we would have probably guessed Arkansas would be like 9-point favorites in this game.
Easily. And again, we'll get to your calls here in a second, folks, but you were mentioning Oklahoma and what they have moving forward. Because, again, they're 1-4 in conference play, 14-4 overall. Their one win was actually just here last week, or this last game against South Carolina. They won by 20. But they get A&M on the road in the next game, which, of course, we'll look at the schedule this week as far as your SEC update. But A&M got that big win against Ole Miss on the road, so they're going to be good. But then they get Vanderbilt, but then on the road to Auburn, Tennessee at home, and then at Missouri. So their next 5 games, Vanderbilt being their easiest one at home, they go on the road to 2 tough teams, home against one of the best teams, if not the best team, and then another tough road game. So yeah, they're probably looking at it too, of like, hey, we got to beat Arkansas. We gotta make this happen if we want to try to turn the season around. Because what was the highest rank they got to? Like were they top 10 at some point?
Oklahoma, they were definitely hovering in that top 10 range because they started off like 11-1 or something like that overall. They had a couple decent. They beat Michigan. They beat the same Michigan team that Arkansas beat. They had to come from behind in that one. So they had some buzz kind of entering conference play. It's also going to be interesting. We all are kind of saying, oh yeah, 8-10, 9-9 in the SEC, that'll get you in the tournament. Like, who knows? We feel like 7-11's probably not, but we don't really know. You look at the resumes of some of these SEC teams. There's a lot of teams kind of jumbled in that 30 to 55 range of the net rankings, and so it's like there's a lot that's going to change with the resumes. So who knows? I mean, you mentioned Oklahoma's 1-4. How many more losses can they afford? Say they lose tomorrow to Arkansas, they're 1-5, and you just listed off their schedule. It's like, how many can they afford to lose? 5? Like, would 8-10 get them in the tournament? I feel like with what they did in non-conference, it actually might. But I don't see a ton of the wins on their schedule for them. And by the way, I saw somebody. Who was it? Oh, it was Heartbroken Hog that says, where are we at in the net rankings right now? So as of today, as of 12:27 p.m. on January 24th, Arkansas is at 54 in the net, and Oklahoma jumped up overnight from 50 to 47. So this is a top 55 matchup we've got here at Bud Walton Arena. And for those that aren't familiar, obviously 64 teams make the tournament, but a lot of those are, a good portion of them are automatic bids. You really need to be in that top 40 range to feel good about making the NCAA tournament, I would say. And of course, by the end of the season, a lot's going to change between now and then. Hell, one of those Eric Musselman teams that made the Elite Eight was down to like 94 or something like that in the net after losing to Hofstra. I feel like if you're in that top 40, top 45 range, you feel pretty good about an at-large bid. And then, of course, conference play comes into it, like your conference record. But I think if Arkansas can get to 8-10, they would certainly be in that top 40, top 45 net range, which would be good. And so we'll see where Oklahoma ends up. Obviously, they're 47 now. You lose on the road in Fayetteville, probably not going to knock them too much, but you just listed off the teams that they've got to play. They could drop down a little bit. And so I think like this is one where you just got to win it, figure out the rest later. Arkansas is currently 2-7 against quad 1 teams. So I think this would technically qualify as that right now. I think you got to go ahead and pick you up a quality win here and see what you can do.
Yep, you got to do it. You got to do it, folks. Again, we're live here at Alumni Hall in Fayetteville, and just want to remind everybody that they got just new arrivals of these Razorback baseball jerseys, 2025 and everything too. Oh, see, we got fist bump. Got a fist bump here. Yep. Okay, so here you go, man. Gift card to Alumni Hall. Enjoy it. Yeah, appreciate you. Yeah.
Stuart. Okay.
Stuart.
Shout out to Stuart, who just won an Alumni Hall gift card. He's about to use it and get a sick baseball jersey.
Is that what you're going to get it on, man?
Oh, really? That really is? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. He said he asked if DVH was making a statement by starting Gage Wood. I feel like he is, man. I like it. I like the move.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Might be doing it. Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, so there you go. Wow, little Stu action. I thought he was going to say Stu Hogg, and I'm like, no, you're not.
I was like, we know Stu Hogg.
Yeah, you imposter. But yeah, again, great here, folks. Again, come by Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville. They got the jerseys. They got all the different colors and sizes. They also have the on-field official hats. They have camo today, but the rest of them are going to be coming in here in the next week or so. They also have new men's cutter and buck reverse pullovers, as well as polos. And red options for the gymnastics meet, like you said, the red out that they're doing, red out the bud, or I forgot what the terminology that they use. Pack the bud.
Pack the bud.
Pack the bud with red is what I'm going to say. So that way you get all of it. But yeah,
I think it's the red wedding is what we're calling it.
Yeah, against LSU. Yeah. Libby Dunn's not going to know what hit her when she sees all that red coming in.
Skeens will make a debut today. You think
Skeens wants to take another L to Arkansas? You think he wants to do it?
Yeah. I guess he didn't play in Fayetteville because they played in Baton Rouge that year. But yeah, maybe Skeens will come check it out. Yeah, because he lost in Friday, and then they lost in the SEC tournament against that combo of Hunter Holland and Hagen was. LSU won the title that year, so I mean it sucks, but that they did not know what to do when they had those two tall lefties out there, man. Arkansas won the wars, LSU won the battle.
That's right.
Or wait,
the other way around.
The other way. Arkansas won the battles, LSU won the war. We'll give it to them.
LSU's just lucky they didn't face Arkansas in those finals because they would have taken care of business. That would have been the way. So
everybody in the chat, by the way, asking if they can give digital fist bumps. when we have someone come in store, it kind of ruins your chances there. I mean, we had a guy pull up. By the way, I think he dipped out immediately.
Yeah.
I don't think he bought that.
Here's the thing. I think
he's hanging out there.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm going to assume, big assumption, he's probably waiting for a buddy to show up. Hey, man, they got me a gift card, so you need to come here and get a gift card.
Get the other gift card.
Yeah, let's put it together.
I saw two in the thing.
Yeah. So we'll have to watch him. People can get some shenanigans in here if that's the case. All right, real quick, let's go to the phone lines. Trey is in Harrison. What's going on, Trey?
What's going on, guys? Sorry for my last call. I was scatterbrained, brain dead as soon as I came on.
Happens to us every day.
Just wanted to say, yeah, well, it happens to me more than I like it to.
Fair.
I think Georgia and Oklahoma are very similar teams. I just hope Arkansas can keep the momentum rolling. And also, I need to get my butt down to Alumni Hall and get me one of those hats and bring Arkansas into the woods with me. I may not see anything because it's probably bad luck, but hey, bring the Hogs with me.
Hey, you may not see anything, but they won't see you with this camo. When you're in the woods, they're not going to see you either, Trey.
All the deer will be able to spot is that beautiful A, that script A. They're like, wait a minute, I can see that A.
I think Dave Van Horn wears that.
That deer. Is that Dave Van Horn?
Is that Dave Van Horn? Yeah.
But come walking in. Hey, there's Red. Yep, now I got red blood trail now.
Yeah, that turned dark. All right, that's graphic. But thank you for that, Trey. Thank you for that. But we appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much. Always, Trey, on in. Yeah, I felt like, man, as soon as you started talking about the red, I was like, oh, yep, he's gonna make the connection with the deer and shooting it. So, but hey,
and blood,
hunting season,
blood and guts.
Yep, hunting season there for sure. Also, Aiden, I like this. He was talking about the hats. He's like, Curve Bill and Anabolics went out of style. Such a shame. Dude, were you the Curve Bill guy at some point? I remember I was.
A little bit. And I have a couple hats that do kind of have the curve in them. But I mean, I'm honestly like, I'm okay with the flat bill.
Yeah. I listen, I mean, I'm not going to say it, but if I was about 30 or 40 pounds more of solid muscle, I think I could be Nate Thompson. I think I could. I think I could pull it off. I'm just trying to say.
You look like the Pokemon before it evolved version of Nate Thompson a little bit. I like that.
Before it takes the final stages. Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it for sure. So, also a few chats we'll get into here, folks. We'll have some other things to discuss as well. Aiden also said Oklahoma's always a weird game, but may just have been because of the venue. Here's the deal.
It was definitely because of the venue.
I hated that game, and I actually enjoy doing neutral site games on occasion. Like when me and Curtis went to Dallas for the Arkansas Baylor game. Like that was a cool thing. Kansas when they had that. Kansas City when they had the whatever it was called a few years ago. But I know they played Illinois this year there, but still, like that stuff's fine. But the BOK Center, I just did not like. It was not a set-up place for basketball. And if you want to know exactly, again, this is the small stuff I complain about. They would have all the elevators shut off but one. It's like, sorry, we can't. We're not going to have all the elevators working. Why? Well, we're trying to save money. I'm like, okay, great. But it'd be really funny if Cal gets ejected tomorrow. It's just like a trend.
It would be funny. I mean, so Arkansas got beat by like 30 plus twice.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
They did win one in there. The Nick Smith, Anthony Black team beat them pretty good. But yeah, they sandwiched that in between two blowout losses, and in both of the blowout losses, Muss got like the intentional ejection. Be like, I've got to fire my guys up. I got to let them know that I care. We're getting whipped, and it doesn't matter. That kind of ejection. That's what we might. If Arkansas is losing by 30 tomorrow, the entire team should get ejected.
I think so. Yeah, you should just eject the fans, eject everybody if it gets to that point. I will say, I was going to bring up like Arkansas and Oklahoma. They've played each other a lot in basketball, even before the neutral site.
My favorite game I've ever been to was Arkansas Oklahoma.
Was that the one that was Blake Griffin?
Yeah.
I was that was one of my first early years of the student section.
What other game would it have been?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I was trying to think if maybe there was one I was missing. Maybe because I think like Rodney Clark had a big game one time against him because there was like, he's from Oklahoma. Yeah. So, but yeah, I that game was so dumb because it wasn't on like national TV. It was on like the back when Fox Sports had regional, whatever it's called, Fox Sports Southwest or anything like that, and the score bug was all messed up. But hey, Marcus Monk just shut down Blake Griffin. He had no answers. Got fouled out of the game. Him and his brother, I think, is
Taylor Griffin.
Griffin. Yeah, Arkansas won that game. Won it pretty handedly too. Michael Washington was doing some great things.
Yeah,
just weird. And then that's what made the Texas game the next week. Which I think how crazy that was that you had Oklahoma and Texas at home in a week.
And you beat them
Non-conference.
both, and they were both top 10.
Yep.
It was like number 1 and number 7 or something like that.
And then you went 2-14 the rest of the way. In SEC
It
play.
happens. I mean, it happens.
I mean, what do you expect them to win more than 2 games after beating top 10 teams? Come on now. Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
And then Arkansas went through a stretch where they did the opposite, where they would sink in non-conference and then go 12-4 in SEC play. And you're like, oh, okay. Cool.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. That adds up. Transplanted Texan says the second half grit got the gray hairs out of their seats. If Hogs can put together a complete game, that type of energy, the crowd will be a part of the game and can help them get the win. So.
This is very fair because I think we've talked about it a lot, the disconnect between the fan base and all that, and it just felt like nobody was really excited. We talked about the atmosphere ad nauseum at this point. We've talked about the attendance and all that, but we've always kind of said the team needs to do their part to get the fan base excited, get the fans behind them, and I feel like second half was really the best example of that for the entire year. I don't know how many home games they've played, but like even though it was a smaller crowd, that was probably the loudest, probably the most engaged the fan base has ever been. So I think this Oklahoma game is a very big opportunity for them to continue that and really ramp it up. And so if you do it twice in a row, now all of a sudden you've got a little bit of a connection with the fan base. But if everything good that happened on Wednesday, all the fun we had, all the grit that was on display, all of it goes out the window if you stink tomorrow. Like that's just how it works. And you want to really build that trust, build that relationship with the home fans, play well tomorrow, really open up a can of whip ass on Oklahoma, would really start to just change the way I think Hog fans would be so confident. I don't think anybody should gain a ton of tremendous confidence from beating Oklahoma. But if Arkansas wins like fairly comfortably tomorrow, you're not going to be able to tell any Arkansas fan that they're losing to Kentucky. Like they will be the cockiest fan. They will be the cockiest 2-5 fan base of all time. And hell, that's about as much as you can hope for at this stage in the season with how it started and how bad and how bleak it looked 48 hours ago. We'll take it. Yeah.
And what it'll be, especially like what the thing I brought up is if they hit a bunch of threes and get hot, like, cause then it'll be like, oh, the offense got figured out. It's like, well, maybe it just got, one of those shooting nights. No, the offense got figured out is what they're going to do. They figured it out. Like it's, they're going to put up the Devo meme. This team's struggling, but we figured it out, crying there on the sidelines.
The Boogie Flan haters will be rejoicing on Saturday if they win like by 7.
Yeah, which is so weird. Aiden says, any chance that we play St. John's outside of a March Madness run?
I simply want to inquire more for Aiden and I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I think you can maybe see him in March, but like, where did this come from? Like, what's
I guess
the
connection? Patino?
Just like to play him just because Patino and Cal know each other and used to coach against one another.
Yeah. Of course, we do know that
cross paths a lot.
Of course, we do know that Cal said he's like it's going to be like the most excited, anticipated basketball game of all time in Chicago next year.
Maybe that's who he's referencing.
Like I remember we talked about, like, who in the world could that be? It had to be like UConn. I think is what we kind of came to the conclusion. But I'm sorry, like Gonzaga is not going to make that. Like that's a bold claim. I know it's probably hyperbole, but man, that's a lot.
The good thing, though, to answer Aiden's question, I guess, is that with John Calipari as the head coach, pretty much anything is possible. And I don't mean that in a way of like you can go to the moon and win 4 titles. I mean like he has connections and weird, he can make things happen. He can make events. I mean, that whole Champions Classic thing that they do still to this day kind of was started off as a John Calipari showcase type of thing. And so if there's one coach that will get you on those big stages and will get you playing in cool venues, I mean, hell, Arkansas's coolest moment of the year happened in Madison Square Garden. I mean, how awesome is that? So I don't think you can rule out anything as a Hog fan in terms of potential future opponents. And so, yeah, that would be interesting. Do we know what his relationship with Patino's really like these days?
I thought it was, I mean, here's the deal. Is like Cal,
cordial?
Cal seems cordial. Yeah. I guess because they were rivals with Cal or Patino at Louisville and Cal at Kentucky. I don't know. Cal just, it seems like I'm sure there's people he really hates in the coaching realm, but I don't think he's ever going to make it obvious. Like Eric Musselman, you could tell which ones he did not like. Like just straight up.
Most of them.
Yes. Like, in fact, the only one was Cal that they got along. So, but I just don't see Cal and Patino really having a hatred for one another. I think it's more competitors, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
They've trauma bonded over being Kentucky coaches.
Yes. Yeah. Kentucky, and except one came from the NBA and the other one went to the NBA, and neither of them were very good.
Levy Bird's not walking through that door. Dude, that's like an all-time class. Is that like one of the best sports references you can make of like anytime your team sucks after being good before, you can reference,
yeah, because I think John
Smith's not walking through that door.
Because I think John Pelfrey even did that article. He's like, Corliss Williamson's not walking through that door. It's like, Yeah, we know. Thanks, pal.
It's like when someone tries to quote Rocky when
Yeah.
they're trying to quote, it's about how hard you can get it. It's like, well, wait, we know this speech, dude. You can't fool us.
Yeah, exactly. And Dalton says John looks like a former NAIA baseball player that comes back to his high school during the fall camp to coach the team.
Yeah.
I could see it.
You had like a 5.6 ERA across 3 seasons, but like those were the best years of your life, and so you're just like you're clinging on to it really hard.
I don't have the Vipers though. I don't have Viper sunglasses that I could really rock.
I feel like you would be really good at hitting the fungo like infield, like when they're doing in and out, they're hitting the ground balls and stuff. I feel like you could hit a really solid ground ball to shortstop.
Yeah, because I'd put everything I have behind it, and that's about as far as it would go.
Hey, let's turn 2 here in the middle.
Yeah,
I feel like you could do that.
Yeah, I could do that. I could be Bobby Warness. That's what he does in BP. So yeah, I can do that.
But can you hit the one straight up when it's the end of it, and you got to have the catcher catch the pop fly? It's really hard to hit a pop fly straight in the air with the fungo.
No, I just turn down the pitch and machine thing straight up and then fire it up. And that'd be the best way to do it. But yeah, folks, again, we're live from Alumni Hall. Appreciate all of everybody tuning in and checking out all the stuff that they have here available at Alumni Hall. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some stuff going on around the SEC as far as our SEC update presented by Rhoback. I was thinking last night when I was staying up late for a few reasons, which by the way, I want to address this real quick. I made a major mistake, and this is serious. I made a major mistake the other day when I was referring to Josh Pate of 24/7 Sports and talking about how he big time me one time and how he said that, oh, I don't have time for you right now, all of that. Josh saw it, and Josh reached out to me and was saying, hey, man, what's this about? We had a conversation last night because we talked about it, and I made a major mistake where as weird as it is, I got big timed by 2 different individuals around that time, and I got the stories confused as far as what was said that Josh Pate. So Josh Pate never said that I don't have time for you. That was somebody else, and I made that mistake. But we talked. It's all good. I appreciate him accepting my apology and everything, but I just want to address that because that's on me. That's embarrassing to me because I feel like I shouldn't go out and say something like that unless I was 100% confident that that's what happened. But I went back and checked, and that was a mistake. So, again, sorry, Josh. I appreciate you and appreciate you being understanding. He apologized to me, too, and we're good. So, everything. Just want to get that out of the way.
Do you want to air out your dirty laundry with the person who actually did big time you, though? I mean, do you
no,
want
not
to
at this point in time.
That?
No, I think I'm going to settle back and not get to that stuff just yet because, I'll do that, and then somebody will be like, hey, what the heck? And I go back and I find out it's something I said to my mom or something like that. So,
shout out to whoever pulled the clip on Twitter who had me just talking the maddest crap I've ever talked. And we reference Pate a lot. I make fun of Josh Pate here and there. Obviously, Josh Pate is crushing it. And I even said in that podcast, I was like, he is probably the best national college football guy, and he at least does love football. And I know he loves Hog fans. But that part did not make the clip. The clip I was talking about, I was like, oh yeah, Pate, he's always pandering to Hog fans. So I was like, geez, I did not expect that to come across my Twitter timeline yesterday. No. Me talking crap about Josh Pate. I was like, oh.
No, I didn't expect it. But yeah, we wanted to address that. But hey, appreciate him being understanding, accepting the apologies, and we're good, and we're moving on. So just wanted to let that be known. Kentucky got some bad news last night, by the way. It's Kentucky basketball.
They did, which, by the way.
Whoops.
Listen, there's no shame. We've been there before. The think you're getting a big recruit, you don't get it. You get the rug pulled out from under you. Hell, a couple of weeks ago, Arkansas had a guy kind of change in the last few days. The big man. But that was fun because there was a lot of Kentucky accounts that were doing the eyeball emoji and the Thursday is going to be a big day. Watch out. And to have him announce on Inside the NBA was pretty cool. And then I didn't expect it to go that way. I hadn't really kept up with Caleb Wilson's recruitment, but he chooses North Carolina over Kentucky.
I kind of should have seen that coming because Kenny Smith's a UNC guy. I'm not saying that was why he did it, but apparently it kept getting delayed too. I saw that Joe Tipton was like, hey, he's still waiting. It's till the wee hours of the morning. So, but yeah, he chooses North Carolina. I do appreciate the fact that there wasn't just any weirdness. He's just like, my decision on going to UNC and all that. And they did a guarantee button and all that. But I know that Kentucky fans, they were thinking that he was going to be the guy. They were thinking he was going to come in, but that's recruiting these days, man. You can't trust any kids these days when it comes to their decisions and recruiting.
Their word at all.
Yeah, their word is not
all
their
we
bond.
have in this world is our word. And some people go back on theirs, but I saw a Kentucky fan that was like, you know what? A college kid or a high school kid announcing his college decision on an NBA show, it's a little much for me. And I'm like, is it a little much? Is it?
Seems pretty on brand, actually.
Yeah, it seems like something that like Kentucky. And by the way, Kentucky's made a living being kind of the NBA factory. Like it seems par for the course.
Yeah.
And I feel like they probably would have loved it had he committed to Kentucky, if I had to guess.
And also, folks, let's just be very clear about something. If you had the opportunity to announce your college decision on Inside the NBA or do it in your high school gym, each and every one of you are doing Inside the NBA. Yeah. So don't even try that.
I'll kick it with Shaq if that's okay.
Yeah. Shaq and Charles Barkley, and be on national TV
rather than the PE teacher at my high school.
Yeah, come on. Anybody that says that stuff, just get out of here with that. You all know that you do the same thing. But yeah, as far as this weekend of games though for the SEC, we know Arkansas and Oklahoma facing off against each other tomorrow night in Bud Walton Arena. Also, you got a few interesting games. I wouldn't say that there's a whole lot, but there is one big one, and that's Tennessee and Auburn. That's happening tomorrow night. This game is in Auburn, and Auburn being number one, rightfully so, best team in the country and has been all season. Tennessee are with 2 losses in the SEC, but still, bums. But this is, I think everybody can agree, this is probably the game against the 2 best teams. Maybe throw Alabama in there with Tennessee. Auburn's for sure the best. But, man, that game, it sucks. Also at 7:30. I'm like, why? Why couldn't it have been that one early in the day so we can watch it? But instead, it's going to be at the same time the Razorback game is.
Yeah, you've got 3 SEC games taking place at 7:30. Tennessee, Auburn, LSU at Alabama. Great football game being played there in Tuscaloosa. And then Arkansas, Oklahoma. And so you got those spread out. So good news for Arkansas fans. If you do lay an egg tomorrow, no one's going to see it, most likely, outside of the state of Arkansas or the people that are tapped into ESPN, the Deuce.
Yeah.
But, there's a couple other games that stick out to me. So Missouri, who is still ranked in the top 25, hosting Ole Miss, who's coming off of
brutal loss.
And so Ole Miss is 4-2 in the SEC. Missouri is also coming off a loss because they lost to Texas, which they were not expecting to lose to Texas. So I think that's going to be an interesting game to see who bounces back. Whoever wins that game is in great shape. 5-2, like clearly a lock for the NCAA tournament. Obviously, I mean, if Missouri wins, like it's going to be impressive for them to be 5-2 a year after, such a disaster. And so I feel like it's going to be a big win for whoever comes out of it. Whoever loses is in good shape. It's not like a big deal. But I feel like between those 2 teams, like if it's at Missouri, if they can get that win, man, you'd really have to like tip your hat to Dennis Gates and really just the job he's done. There's another game that catches my eye, and I know that it'll catch some of our viewers' eyes as well. Vanderbilt is hosting our beloved Wildcats, John.
Yes.
That's an interesting game to me. So Vanderbilt's 3-3 in the SEC. They are currently number 38 in the net. And I was saying earlier, if you're top 40 in net, you feel pretty good. Vanderbilt, depending on where you look, like they're a lock to make the tournament. We'll see. There's a lot of season left to be played, and they've really overachieved in year one here. If they beat Kentucky tomorrow, all of a sudden, like it's time to like stop, throwing shade at Vanderbilt. They'd be 4-3 in the SEC. They'd be looking like a bona fide NCAA tournament team, and then the Cats would have a tough game against Tennessee coming up, and then you got to face. Then you got to face the Arkansas Razorbacks. So Kentucky could fall to 3-3 in SEC play right before they face the 2 best teams in the country. I mean, that's just where we're at.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at that too. I'm like, but hold on a second. Vanderbilt can't do that because I was told that first year coaches cannot be very successful in their first year programs. Like Vanderbilt, how can they be successful in their first year under a new coach? I didn't think that was a thing.
I mean, as we know, it's impossible to have success in year one.
It's true.
Under a new head coach in college basketball. No one's ever done it, and no one ever will do it.
No. In fact, they actually did it years ago, but now that story's in a museum somewhere. It just does not happen. But yeah, that one's pretty fascinating too. You got the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, but basketball version. You got Florida, Georgia. That game, Florida also stole a game against South Carolina.
Sure did,
I mean. Who's not taking anything away from him. Just saying, like, that game should have been in South Carolina's hands, but definitely did that. And what would be a great football game more often than not? You got LSU, Bama. You said at the 7:30 slot. Texas A&M. I don't think they have a name for that rivalry in football. I think it's just Texas and Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. So, but that game's going to be at 1:30 on ESPN, and Mississippi State and South Carolina as well. So those are going to be the games to look forward to this weekend. And just as a reminder, folks, Arkansas gets a week off. They get a midweek bye next week. And Kentucky does not. They play Tennessee. Is that game in Rupp, though?
No.
Is it in
you're
Knoxville?
talking about Tennessee?
Yeah.
No, it's in Knoxville.
It's in Knoxville,
wow.
yeah. So back-to-back ones there. And then Kentucky has Ole Miss on the road after they play Arkansas. So just saying.
So is Kentucky cooked if they lose to Vanderbilt tomorrow?
People are saying. Are you one of those people that feel like if you want Arkansas to win, Are you one of like, hey, I want Kentucky to win all the games going up to that, or do you want them to lose? And I've always wondered that mind game people try to play.
So I mean, like, I really don't care. Yeah, being honest with you, like all these games we're talking about, like tomorrow night, I'm not gonna be like tapped in, like really like watching it and making sure I'm tapping in, and taking notes. If you could guarantee me an Arkansas win, I would say I want Kentucky to beat Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Vanderbilt, beat Tennessee, be as high as they could possibly be. But I don't know. I do like the idea of Kentucky. If they lose this Vanderbilt game, which I do think Kentucky's going to beat Vanderbilt. I'll just go ahead and get out in front of that. I think Kentucky is just, not dumb enough to lose a game like that, frankly. Although, I mean, going to Nashville, that's a weird venue. You want to talk about weird venues? That's a weird venue. It's a tough place to play. Arkansas has lost there countless times. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if they've ever won there besides that time that Daryl Macon hit all the free throws.
Seems like the only time.
But I do kind of like the idea of Kentucky maybe squirming a little bit. You lose this game against Vanderbilt. You have a really tough one against Tennessee. Then they'd be playing Arkansas like, hey, we got to win one. They'd be below 500 in SEC play. They would need to win that Arkansas game, which is just crazy because, like, again, preseason, we kind of felt like, hey, Arkansas is the higher-ranked team. We'll see. Maybe they can beat Kentucky. Maybe they'll kind of be the one that Kentucky's aiming for. Then, obviously, Kentucky's season has gone the way it has. They seem to be, for a while, one of the best teams in the entire country. It would be funny to see. I mean, life comes at you fast in the SEC, and life comes at you fast in sports. So I kind of do want to see the Wildcats squirm a little bit.
Yeah, I see. I'm the same way because you do talk about the amount of pressure because they already feel it like they got to beat Cal. They have to beat Cal. But if they're losing games too going into that, and that's not saying that they're out of the tournament talk if they lose the next two, but as far as seeding and everything goes, they're like, we have to do this. And so how does Mark Pope, with all the national people, I mean, it's going to have to be the most watched regular season college basketball game of the year by far. Arkansas and Kentucky has to be.
It'll definitely be.
And so you're going to have everyone watching. You are having your backs against the wall because you've lost a few games. You're going up against Cal. You're going up against Arkansas, which, not to say that they're just resurging, but if they beat Oklahoma, they've had time to prepare. Like, if
that's not surging, I don't know what is.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like if you're Kentucky, you're like, Mark Pope, oh man, this has to be the must win. And if you crap your pants, the Kentucky fans and the nation, and of course Razorback fans are going to be just throwing lobs to your fan base and making fun of you. So yeah, that to say that is a must win for Kentucky no matter what is that way. But if you're Arkansas, I think you're kind of going in with house money no matter what. I mean, even if you beat Oklahoma, it's like you're not in the tournament talk. You've sucked this year. You've not been great, but. If you go in and if you lose to Kentucky, who's going to be like, oh, man, what an upset? Nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
Here's what you got to consider, though, John. If this plays out, if Arkansas beats Oklahoma as they're supposed to, and Kentucky, loses to Tennessee, maybe they even just play a tough game and they have to, like, really scrap and claw against Vanderbilt. Hog fans will be so confident, will be talking crazy. Of course, they'll still be underdogs in the game, and national media-wise, it's not like people are going to be picking Arkansas to win. But this Arkansas fan base will be barking up the Kentucky tree a good bit, and so you gotta kind of soften yourself for that blow because it's definitely coming.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's going to be here, and I just can't wait to see how it all goes down and how it all plays out. Let's see a few more chats here, folks. This one's nice for Taylor. Can you all ask Kurt? I'm assuming it means Curtis.
I would assume.
Yeah. Even though I can't say it's a little confusing because it's Kurt Wilkerson Twitter handle on Twitter. So, but he'll respond to either one. But he says to ask why TB isn't more involved in the offense. In the next coach's interview, TB is the best 3-point percentage on the team. So many times he's been wide open and players aren't looking for him.
So, okay, obviously I'm not Curtis. I will leave the real
can do an impersonation of Curtis
basketball analysis to Curtis. But my opinion on the matter is, I think that we've talked about this a lot. That Arkansas's guards, their vision in a lot of those pick and rolls, pick and pops, and whatever it is. Sometimes we felt like they've missed tons of open looks or just good matchups with the big men. And to be fair, it's not like Arkansas's big men like Jonas Adu. What do you average, like 12 or 13 at Tennessee? Mm-hmm. A nice presence in the middle. Not necessarily like a guy you just throw it down in the post and let him cook. TB, as skilled and as good as he is offensively, isn't necessarily that guy either, where you just dump it down in the post and let him go to work. So I don't think you're ever going to see like Arkansas runs offense through their bigs a little bit. They'll have Big Z and kind of let people run around them. But I don't think you're going to see any of Arkansas's big men, especially Big Z, used in that way where it's just kind of dump it in and let them cook. And I would argue with TB, he was obviously a focal point for Arkansas offensively a couple years ago with that Anthony Black team when he was off to that great start. And there were times last year where Arkansas was trying to like run offense through him as like a shooting guard, and it was very weird, and he was not comfortable in that role. I actually think if you're making like the best way to use Trevin, I think is as a secondary offensive piece, a piece that he would be like a role he's overqualified for as a spot up 3-point shooter. We see him, he's shooting, what is it, like 38, 39% from three. For a 6'10" guy, that's really strong. And then of course, pick and rolls, lobs at the rim, whatever the case may be. I think that's the best way to use Trevin to get the most effective use for him. I don't know if necessarily like force feeding him and just letting him go to work and letting him create his own offense is the way to go. But I agree with the premise of people definitely need to be a little bit more on the lookout for those big men whenever they have good matchups or whatever the case may be, or when teams are going small and you feel like you have the advantage. I definitely think Arkansas's guards could be a little bit better at finding those guys. But I don't think what you're going to see is like an offense really centered around TB. And I don't know if you necessarily need to.
No, I don't think so either. And in fact, we've talked about Brazil, how impressed we've been by him, but I've just also been impressed on his efficiency. Like he's taking like only 3 shots a game.
Exactly.
And like, I've just been, not to say that he was a ball hog and taking 12, 13, 14 shots, but he picks his spots. And I think that shows a growth and maturity from what we saw before. And it's almost where when he's open for a 3, I'm yelling to shoot it, where maybe in previous times I'm like, no, don't, please don't. But at this point, I mean, if you're giving your power rankings of the top 3 guys that when they're open for a 3, you want to shoot. I mean, I think Trevin Brazil is probably number 3 for me. I mean, Big Z's up there. Yeah. And I mean, would Nelly Davis still be one of them? Or?
Nelly Davis still has to be just because of the track record he has. Wagner's obviously pretty streaky, had his moments. I mean, neither of those guys, I don't think you could be super confident in them pulling up from beyond the arc. But no, I definitely think Trevin has done a really good job of kind of getting in where he fits in. He's not forcing the issue. And I would like to see that volume maybe go up a little bit, especially as Arkansas is in a time where they don't really have an identity offensively other than Floppy. And so it's there's kind of room for him to step up a little bit. And so I'd like to see his shot attempts go up a little bit, but I don't want it to be a 10, 12 shots a game type of thing. I still think the best, like most efficient version of TB is as a kind of just within the flow of the offense, get his looks.
Yeah, no, I want to see TB. I want to see a highlight dunk though. He's had one of those every year.
He's due
one. Yeah, he's due to get on Sports Center top 10. In fact, because he hasn't been on there yet this year, right?
I don't think so.
Every year he's been on, and he's been at Arkansas. So, man, that first dunk. Well, I forgot which team Arkansas played in his first year, where he
had the crazy dunk.
Oh my goodness,
I can't remember who that was.
It was like North Dakota State or something. South Dakota State.
Because they played both of them that year.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
I wanted to say San Jose, but that's who he got hurt against.
Yeah. Let's not bring that one up.
But yeah, I think you were right. It was the Jackrabbits.
Yeah. By the way, the guy working here at Alumni Hall, if you've seen him in the student section, front row,
legend on the jumbotron.
Yeah, he's always down there. It's I guess you rock the overalls, right? The stripes. Don't you do? Yeah. Okay. All right. Just make sure. So yeah, if you come in and you see back, hey, where do I know you from? You know. That's where you know. You see him on the jumbotron.
Didn't recognize you without your face being blown.
Yeah, and having the sunglasses on and everything. But yeah, that's where it's from. Let's see. There was some other things too that I was gonna bring. Oh yeah, this is not anything like SEC related, all that. But how about Pete Carroll making a comeback?
That's interesting
with the Raiders.
That is interesting to me. Pete Carroll's one of the best coaches of my lifetime. Like any sport. Whatever. Like he just got a really good resume. Clearly knows, we'll see if he's still in his prime era. But I feel like that's a guy that you could definitely, like, I'm intrigued. Like you could sell me on him being a good coach pretty much anywhere at any level. The Raiders, are in a little bit of a transition period. They hired the interim coach and then promoted him for a while, Antonio Pierce. And it kind of got themselves in an Ed O situation there.
Yeah.
They don't have a quarterback. We'll see what they do. I'm assuming they're going to be drafting one this year. So we'll see what the rest of their roster looks like. But Pete Carroll, man, I'm intrigued by him no matter what.
The dude's 73 years old.
That is old.
73 years old, and he's going to be a new NFL head coach. Like that's.
We've said that with the NFL though, where it's like if you have a job in the NFL, you always have a job just forever.
I don't know.
By the way, I see. And Heartbroken Hog just brought this up. It makes him nervous because Tom Brady is running the Raiders now. Running the Raiders, I feel like might be a stretch, but he does pretty much own it.
Yeah,
like he's a good like a minority owner in it. And he's definitely involved in some of these decisions. I know he was trying to kind of convince Bill Belichick to be back in the mix there. Tom Brady's definitely. I mean, that's another one where I don't know exactly what his involvement level is. I don't know what all he's doing. I don't know if he's like in the facility every day, calling the shots. And Pete Carroll, who knows what version of him you're getting, but those are two guys that you just give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, yeah, the Raiders are definitely intriguing.
Yeah, and also too, like speaking of Pete Carroll, I know that everybody knows how great of a coach he is, but I mean, he's in that rare era of coaches that's won a national championship in college football and a Super Bowl. Like that you got him, you got Jimmy Johnson, and people say Barry Switzer, which you gotta give him credit, but took Jimmy Johnson's team in the Cowboys. But that's just such a rare thing when it just shows you, oh, no, he's just built for college. Because how many college football coaches have we seen go to the NFL and fail? Or how many NFL coaches have we seen go to college and fail? It happens more often than not. But to be incredible at both, that's impressive. And especially going to Seattle. I'm not saying Seattle's this terrible franchise, but it's not like the historic where he walked in and he has a franchise quarterback like Peyton Manning or anything. Like he built it. So yeah, dude's a great coach. Also, as far as the SEC, Shane Beamer got to raise an extension. So
I mean, had a tremendous 2024 season. I've been hard on Shane Beamer. I make fun of him a lot. I will continue to do that. But I can tip my hat and say, really good season, well-earned extension for Shane Beamer, who paid less for his roster than the Arkansas Razorbacks paid for theirs, and somehow won 10 games or 9 or what? Did they finish 9-3? Did they win the bowl game?
Yeah, no, they lost their bowl game.
Okay,
that's
right. That's right. Where he got punked.
Yeah,
but yeah, good for South Carolina. Good for Shane Beamer. I'm not threatened by Shane Beamer to where I'm like, oh man, they're going to get over the hump and win a title. I think extending him is something they should have done, but I think they're going to kind of live in that 7-5, 8-4 range for a while.
Well, I'd like to know, and I don't know, maybe there's a stat out there, but I'd like to know, is Arkansas the SEC team that's lost more of their players over the past few years to other SEC teams in the transfer portal?
Oh, got it.
They have to be up there.
Be number one.
They've definitely lost the most.
They're number one in lost players, period.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, the fact that even a decent percentage of them go to the SEC, because a lot of the teams that are losing those players are not losing them to SEC schools. So I would have to go back and look at the numbers, but I think that's a safe assumption that Arkansas has lost more to SEC teams than anyone else.
Because a few seasons ago is when you lost Trey Knox to South Carolina, and then you lost Rocket Sanders the next year to South Carolina. And then this year, I mean, you've lost everybody to other SEC schools pretty much. Chris Pupal was the before there at Ole Miss. I'm trying to think of anybody else I'm missing from the 2 or 3 years ago that transferred to another SEC school. Yeah, I know there's a few. If you go way back, Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché going to LSU. That was a big one. So
I feel like, you had Jalen Catalon go to Texas, technically.
Yeah, that was tough. Because, he went to Texas first and then went to UNLV. So, all right. So, we got BJ Young, former Razorback.
BJ Young back in the chat again. Love it. Love to see it. Have we determined for sure if this is the real BJ Young or not?
I feel like only BJ Young could say that he is the best rapper and hooper in the United States and have it with that confidence. Yeah. I feel like that's the case.
I like it, man. And I love BJ Young being around here. We've spoken glowingly about him yesterday. We've spoken glowingly about him before.
Yeah.
BJ, if you're listening, we do this thing where we just get on a tangent. And it's me and John's autistic brains kind of. We just start naming former Razorbacks, especially mid 2000s, late 2000s, those eras that we remember finally. We just start rattling off names. Rodney Clark, Marshawn Powell. We just start naming them. So your name comes up on the show pretty regularly, I would say, when we're referencing. And obviously Curtis saw him play, in St. Louis. Yeah. So
he says it's definitely me. He's meant to say love, but love your guys' show. Thanks, hey, BJ. Yeah. Hey, if you have an open invitation, if you ever want to come on the live stream with us during it, we'd love to talk with you.
Absolutely.
Talk some ball with you, talk about some old times and some new times with you. Because I believe he was playing over in China for a while. I know for a bit. So, but yeah, we set that up with you next week in our time in Lexington and hanging out there. I was trying to think. I don't think Arkansas went to that long stretch where they lost to Kentucky 10 straight years in a row.
Yeah.
And then Pelfrey in his final year finally beat Kentucky, which was the weirdest thing because Pelfrey was out the door, and then
one
that
of his
kind of ended
3
it.
Wins that year.
Yes, but I don't think BJ Young was on a team that beat Kentucky, unfortunately.
No, BJ was not on.
No, wait,
BJ was a beacon on some mediocre Hog teams.
Yes, I think he did when it was the Kiko Hadar game and Archie Goodwin came to town. I think he was on that team. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Well, we'll check it out. But yeah, appreciate you hanging out and watching it though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see, because we'll have some Aaron Torres quotes and stuff here. We had an interview with him that we'll play here in just a little bit too. CNC Machine on Twitter was talking about the uniforms that we're wearing. He was saying so many choices, can't just pick one. Probably one of Kelvin's 4 consecutive wins in the early 90s. Oh, he's talking about Oklahoma. Sorry. I thought that's what he was. But okay, sorry.
What was the question? What was the question?
It was about the most memorable Arkansas-Oklahoma game. Okay.
I mean,
so
it's gotta be the Blake Griffin one.
Yeah,
That's the
I would
most
think so.
memorable Arkansas-Oklahoma game. It's funny. I think I told this story on air before. So me and my brother went to that game, and we were very excited. And they handed out towels at that game,
Yep.
like had them on the seats or whatever. And I remember in my room after Arkansas beat Oklahoma that year, I got the towel and like pinned it up in my room, and we had like a little sheet of paper that said Arkansas basketball is back. And they were very much not back, but for that day. And so it was kind of funny that like in my room for the rest of that year, there was a sign that said Arkansas basketball is back as they went 2-14.
So they started before Texas is back type of thing. It's kind of the same concept.
Yeah.
But I thought
I was about 12 years early.
Yeah. Well, I think I told this story too. I can't remember if it was that game or the next game against Texas. No, it had to be previously. But Courtney Fortson was on that Razorback basketball team. And for those who remember Courtney Fortson, great point guard, left-handed, was really crafty. One of only 2 Razorbacks to ever have a triple-double in a game.
He was crazy, man.
Dude,
I learned what a triple-double was because of Courtney Fortson.
Yeah, and it was like an 11-10-10 game, but hey, it counts. But either way, the student section, they handed out, and I kid you not, wigs of the Courtney Fortson hair and the headband. And that's what I was like. Get back to that stuff, Razorbacks. I don't know if you could do it in this day and age because people are like, hey, there's a little
cultural appropriation. You think?
Yeah, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, man. It was like, I think and he loved it. Courtney Fortson loved it. He thought it was the coolest thing too. So, but I remember, they just saw a lot of, just to be honest, a lot of average-looking white guys like myself wearing dreadlocks in the student section with the headband. So, yeah. Okay, so BJ Young says, no, I definitely beat Kentucky. All right.
He did. Clarify. They beat him 73-60 inside Bud Walton Arena. He had 13 points in that game. Arkansas's leading scorer.
Remember Kiko almost got in a
Marshawn Powell had 15 and 9, and Cody Clark had 14 and 12.
Cody Clark, very underrated.
Cody Clark is like one of my like top 12 favorite Razorbacks, like just an obscure one that was there and could kind of do everything.
Mm-hmm. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he is the only Razorback. Maybe it's either the only or one of the only ones to ever beat Kentucky 3 times in a year in his career at Arkansas.
Clark did it.
Yeah, because the next year they beat him twice. In for the Qualls putback dunk in the game in Lexington, and then he beat him in that game. So 3 times. Now it's kind of cheating because forever Arkansas only played Kentucky once a year, and then one year they play him twice. But still, it's pretty impressive.
And then they beat him 3 times in that 1 year.
Yeah.
Or no, it was just twice.
Yeah.
They lost to him 3 times against Cal at one time.
They did do that. Yeah, that happened fairly often, unfortunately. Also, there was some other stuff that I was going to bring up. Here's what I do. Sometimes I just retweet things and be like, oh, yeah, I need to remember to do that and discuss that. Because
I know what you need to bring up.
What's up?
It's this video that I'm looking at right on your screen.
Yeah.
Daniel Gafford. His future children may be in question now.
Yeah, what are we doing here, man?
Got smacked. For anybody that did not see the video, for anyone that's familiar with Lou Dort, the Canadian who went to Arizona State, who is at Oklahoma City now, got ejected last night for just smacking Dan Gafford right in the stones. Dan was trying to set a screen. I guess that's on Dan for not fully covering up his junk.
It's on him. It's on him for not doing it.
They always teach you to do that when you're a kid. You got to cover up so you don't. But like, you never really think, oh, I'm actually going to get hit in the nuts.
Yeah, because men should not do that to other men. That's like it's bro code. Yeah. Like you never need to do that. But yeah, that's pretty brutal. So hopefully he's okay, and hopefully his future children will be fine as well, because that was pretty rough. And another thing too, this was just kind of for fun though. But no, you saw it, Andrew. They're doing a thing. Where did the tweet go? Oh yeah, this baseball player development. They're doing a tournament style deal where the best of sounds of bomb in Razorback baseball history. There's only 16 of these, but I thought it was pretty fascinating. They're on the 16 seed and 15 seed to be fan votes, but we're not talking about just from last year. We're talking about the walk up songs for everybody. And the number 1 overall seed is Scott Hoodie.
Okay,
which
should be.
Yes.
Like I kind of forgot that happened. But like when I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, that's gonna be a contender to win it all." You also mentioned the number 2 seed, Kevin Kopps, with Heat Waves.
I mean, and whenever I'm serious, every time I hear Heat Waves come on, I think of nothing else. I get emotional. I start feeling like I'm gonna win, no matter what's the rest of the day. I'm like, I'm gonna win, because every time you heard that song, you knew Arkansas was gonna win.
I'll tell you, one of the more underrated ones I feel like, Matt Cronin, I think he's the number 13 seed, Shepherd of Fire. His song, it's like a heavy metal rock song. Not a lot of people know the song outside. I mean, I didn't know it before Matt Cronin, but it was the perfect closer walkout song because it just had that kind of like dark tone of like, oh, the guy who's throwing 98's coming in the game. Like I thought that really played. For those that didn't see it on Twitter, we retweeted it if you want to see the full list, and they have a whole list of like the fan votes. There's like a ton of options in the background there. I was surprised Ben McLaughlin, Bay, didn't make the list. I thought that was a classic, but whatever.
I was surprised, and people can feel a certain way about this, but I was surprised that Dominic Ficcichello, California Love, was not on there because that was
like 7 people have done it.
Yeah, I know.
Because at the time he was like the
first.
California Hog, but now like Arkansas's had a ton of California players.
Here we
do
go.
It.
Yeah, pull it up on the stream. So if you guys are watching the stream, you can see what we're referring to here. But I'm gonna have to give Tyler Spoon a lot of credit. My dude, you made the 7th
I gotta
seed.
be honest. Listen, we love Christ around here. The rankings were really weighted toward Christian music.
There's
like
a few
Robert
of them in
Moore, Caden Wallace, like all these guys are on there.
I do not. Here's the thing. I'm gonna have to go back and listen. I do not remember Benattendi's, which is Dan's Caduro. Yeah,
you know the song. But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to tell you the name at all.
Casey Opitz had, of course, Bombastic.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He had a few different ones. Like he always had some good songs. And that's the thing is some of these players change their songs over time a little bit. But yeah, Casey Opitz, that was a classic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of wrong that he decided to do one that's so closely named to the Bombastic podcast and stealing your thunder. There,
yes, Casey Opitz, fraud.
Yep, fraud.
Cease and desist.
Taking stuff away from the Bombastic podcast.
No, I'm not even joking. When I started the Bombastic podcast, I was a little worried about that. Where I was like, maybe Casey Opitz, because some people would call Casey Opitz Mr. Bombastic. I mean, obviously because of the song and just everyone kind of knew what was going on. So I was a little worried that like people were going to call me out for that and be like, "Wow, you're ripping off Casey Opitz." Turns out I was just ripping off some random person on Whole Hog Sports' message board. You remember that?
Yes.
That woman that got really mad.
She was so furious about it. Like, how dare you? Yeah. We went through when we started with Natty State. Went through a lot of people accusing us of stealing names of things. Because even though they weren't even close, but it's just, it was a good learning experience. Like, okay, so no matter what you do when you come up with some creative, they're going to be like, no, you took it from somebody else from this spot that nobody watches or listens to. It's like, oh, okay, sure. But yeah, the fan vote is in there. So I'll be curious to see what people throw in there.
From there.
Yeah. But Sounds of Bomb. I love Sounds of Bomb.
I cannot wait for this year's Sounds of Bomb to come out. Like, that's one of my favorite. Like, I love walkout music. I mean, obviously I love baseball too. And so it's always cool, but I like I'm a sucker for that. Like I love whenever they release the whole thing and I go and rank them all. I'm going to do an episode of the Bombastic podcast. You might have to join me.
I'll do it.
Break down. We're just going to rank like our top 5 walk-up songs and maybe, But here's the thing about walk-ups that I love. Obviously, the cooler the song, the better it is. But it's like some songs like play for certain guys. Like obviously Scott Hodie, the Heidi Ho man or whatever. Like that works. Anytime you get a play on the name or whatever, Hey Jude for a guy named Jude. That plays, but then there's some guys like you need a little bit of country. You need your rednecks, your Reese Robinettes. You need some rap in there. You need like your just pop music. You need the one guy that's got like the dubstep pop thing. Like it's just, I like having the mixture, a little melting pot of all the different personalities on the team. A lot of reggae on the team these days now with the 2 Hawaiian kids, and in the playlist they've added a bunch of reggae to the playlist to kind of cater to the middle infield, which as they should. I mean, those guys are studs. Yeah.
We have a comment. I knew this was going to come up. Dalton was like, what would y'all want your walk-up songs to be?
So I went, literally, I'm not kidding. In high school, I would change it every single week. Every single week I would change it. I had Soulja Boy Get Silly for a while.
Okay.
I really liked that one. The next episode, Dr. Dre.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Still Dre is somebody's from back in the day. That's always like a decent one.
It's a good one.
I'm trying to think though. What would you do? You have anything? And also, it's a little bit different if you're a pitcher and a hitter, because obviously you're getting like a minute long if you're a pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because of course I'm a Justin Timberlake fan, so I'd probably have something JT, something lame like that.
Shout out to Michael Turner, who's he's in the voting pool for Summer Love.
Yeah, which is a great one to walk out to. I've always felt, but I don't know, just something that just like boom, like hits with some energy. Because I think some like Heat Waves is not a song that's just like boom. But it gave like same thing with God's Gonna Cut You Down by Hagen Smith.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash. It's like he's like, okay, this is coming.
That song, when you have a kid from Texas who's a like kill or be killed type of mentality, like Hagen's vibes when he's pitching gives you that Johnny Cash God's Gonna Cut You Down. Like it really works. Whereas like that's not like one of my favorite songs. Like I wouldn't just say like, oh, that's one of the best walk up songs ever. But for Hagen, it really worked. Connor Nolan also had Sleeping on the Blacktop, little country song. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, I love the song Cashmere by Led Zeppelin too. It's always like a
that's a classic.
That's a classic one too. I don't know. I just don't think there'd be anything unique. I wouldn't do like Chris Stapleton's Arkansas. Like that's
Peyton Paulette did that.
Yeah, it's like no offense, but it's just it's too on the nose.
Yeah.
You know, you got to mix it up a little bit and do something. But
I think actually I'm changing my answer. Magic Stick would be my walkout song
with
if I were
50
walking
Cent
and Lil Kim.
oh gosh, yeah,
I got the magic stick. That would play.
yeah.
They'd have to kind of bleep out some stuff, but it'd play.
Yeah. Well, there's like somebody always would do Enter Sandman by Metallica, and you'd have like the olds out there just like singing along. It's like, yeah, this is when music was great. Hey, hear that, Frank? This is when the music was great.
With baseball, you need the pitcher that just has Guns N' Roses or whatever. That just to like appeal to the 52-year-old guys that are there, rock you like a hurricane or whatever.
Yeah, Leonard Skinner and get out there. So
Gabe Gackle walked out to Metallica last year, Wherever I May Roam.
Yeah,
and it smacked. It worked because he was the closer, and it was all good.
That was a good one there. Shout out to Ozzy Maverick. Appreciate the super chat. Ozzy says Reigns of Castamere would do it for a walk-up song.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, and it's a Game of Thrones song, obviously, but it has that kind of dark, ominous feel. I think for a closer, it definitely plays. David with a great suggestion here. Song 2 by Blur. I mean, if you know the song, you know the song. It's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
It plays.
Yeah.
That'd be a good pitcher walk-up song.
Yeah, I was always a White Stripes guy, but then would not do Seven Nation Army, but there was a few songs.
I think Hagen did that his freshman year.
It's rough. And also Will McIntyre finally did Return of the Mac, which I guess somebody else had that first because somebody in the chat said he's like, oh yeah, it was Brett McAfee. He said had Return of the Mac.
That's another thing about baseball walk-up songs. There's some songs. Here Come the Hot Stepper. Someone on every baseball team has Here Comes the Hot Stepper. Someone has Return of the Mac. Like there's a few that just kind of are always going to be around.
Mm-hmm. Still DRE. I feel like has been there all the time too. So, all right. Again, folks, we're live here at Alumni Hall in Fayetteville. Come hang out and get all your Razorback needs satisfied when it comes to apparel. I mean, they got everything. They got these sweet Razorback baseball jerseys, which we and Andrew were talking about. Like these are fire. Like these are so awesome. New uniforms for any sport's always great, but I feel like baseball usually hits more often than any other sport in Arkansas.
Yeah, and it's taken, there's been some trial and error. They really got it right. Last year there was a lot of excitement around the pins, but the Jeff Long font was always the thing that we just all had to kind of look past. They've got it. They've eliminated the Jeff Long font. They got the cool fonts. They've got the different types. I actually just like the versatility of it too. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to wear just one of these every single game, but I like yours for a Friday night. I like these for the Tuesdays. I like the reds. I like the grays when you need to go on the road, and the creams. I feel like the creams have been one of the best jerseys in college baseball for years now. Yeah.
Because there's some uniforms that are just awful. Like I feel like, no offense, I feel like Mississippi State. Maybe it's because they're Adidas or something. I just feel like they miss so many. The A&M.
Well, Mississippi State wears the uniform that says Mississippi State. It's like got a big S, and then it's like Mississippi, and it says Mississippi, and it says like Tate, and there's like a big S, and I'm like,
you're trying too hard.
You can't apply the S to the bottom and not the top. So it literally reads like Mississippi State.
Yeah. It's just like you can't do that. You can't do that at all. Let's see. I like this. Someone just tweeted me because I guess he just now found out that Jalen Catlin just tweeted out that he's going officially to Missouri, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty awful. But
that's been a while for
right. He just tweeted it out, but then John Hayes says somehow J-Cat's going to be in college longer than John Neighbors and Van Wilder combined. Wow. Well,
that's tough.
Yeah, once he puts in 15 semesters, then we can talk.
Yeah, we want to see give us a credit update, Jalen Catlin. We want to see.
See your transfer of your credits. Tony says, John, I just have to know, are you going to try to meet Livy Dunn tonight at the gymnastics meet? I'm pretty sure every single person that attends would probably want to try and meet Livy Dunn. But no, I don't want Paul Skeens coming after me.
Stand in line for an hour and a half after the meet?
No, I don't think so. She wasn't spoken for by a Major League Baseball player that's really good.
A very large one.
A very large one that probably doesn't like people from Arkansas anyways. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to try that. But hey, like I said, if she was single, I'd shoot a shot. It wouldn't go anywhere. It'd be like Arkansas's 3-point shooting, but
wow,
I'd give it a shot though.
Be DJ Wagner coming off the screen.
Yeah, just rising and firing and having nowhere to go with it. So, but yeah, that's when Jordan Weaver was in here, she's like, their record attendance has been 11,000, I think she said, and they've already sold.
To murder that.
They sold 10,000 tickets already. So yeah, I knew, and I also was expecting this to happen. a Kentucky fan says, can y'all pick up some Arkansas gear for Cal while you're there? I don't think he has any.
He has the 1/4 zip that he loves to wear.
Mhm.
But hey, clearly you didn't see his suit the other night. He was very dapper in his Razorback red.
Yeah. He made sure to rock it. People had so much of opinions on it. I know you guys talked about it, but here's the thing. I was not mad and just like all irate about Cal's attire when he wore the blue. But I will say, dude, wear a red tie, wear a red shirt. Because I look back, Mike Anderson would wear Mike Anderson dressed to the nines.
That dude was dapper.
He knew how to do it, but he would wear tan suits, gray suits. He'd even wear like navy blue suits, but he'd always have like a red tie or red pocket square or something. So there you go. Ozzy, I don't even know what he says. Lisby Dunn looks like Mrs. Buttersworth. What are you talking? Get out of here, man.
That's crazy.
Get out of here.
It's crazy.
Just let's not get crazy here and do all that. Again, we'll hear from Aaron Torres here in a little bit. So the scrimmage today for baseball is at 2, you said? 2-ish? 2-ish.
I'm going to be dipping out from here
Yeah.
and going right there.
Yep. So we'll have some previews from that and everything. Is it open to the public?
It is open to the public.
I may swing by.
Everybody come out and watch some ball, and then if you don't want to come out and watch all, tune into the stream tonight. I'll give you the rundown, give you the box score, give you all the deets, all the hard-hitting analysis.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now everyone's like, neighbors catching strays on a Friday because of the Van Wilder joke. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
People love celebrating your downfall, man.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Fine. It's fine. Yeah. I'll still be here somehow, some way, still powering through. Also, let's see. There was going to be something else for Arkansas this weekend. Actually, no. There was an update I was going to give too. When you're setting everything. Oh yeah, the Razorback women's basketball team lost by 41 last night.
Not good.
God, I mean,
not good.
I know it's not. It's never. If a team's bad, a team's bad. But geez, I think saw Tyler Cass maybe of T311 tweeted out that in the losses, Arkansas has never scored more than 60 points. And in also those losses, the other team has never scored less than 90.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea.
Those are real losses right
yes,
there.
Yeah, that's pretty.
A lot easier to stomach it. It's not if a few things bounce our way, this is a decisive game.
Yeah, it's just bad all around. Also, what'd you think about your Texans firing the OC, Slovic?
Well, so I'm thrilled with it.
Okay.
And I think they waited to make sure no one hired him. Because as you know, the Jets interviewed him. I believe Jacksonville, the Jaguars, in division rival, asked to interview him as well. I think he went and made an ass of himself as is expected. But no, he was a guy that's like last year, this time, he was a really big name. I wasn't thrilled about it, but there were a lot of people who thought he was going to get a head coaching job, and it was kind of viewed as Houston gets one more year out of him, kind of like Ben Johnson with the Lions. It was the offense was really, it was a problem this year. There were multiple CJ Stroud interceptions this year where if you look at the replay from up top, there were 2 receivers that ran a route that overlapped. It's you don't want that.
Hey, it could be a lot worse. You could be the Dallas Cowboys and hiring Brian Schottenheimer. That might be the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Jerry Jones loves the Schottenheimer family,
dude,
man.
He was the Jets OC back during the Mark Sanchez days, and I hated him then. He was awful. So I'm sure he got better over 14 years of doing other things. But yeah, I do not understand it whatsoever. So, but yeah, some moves being made there in the NFL, and also let's see. Because we talked about the games this weekend. That's weird now, college football games. Then we have NFL playoff games on Sunday, too.
I went 3-1 on my hockey bets last night, though. So
I was going to ask you about that. So, okay. You big on that hockey thing. You end up getting dubs every single time.
Yeah, I've got some buddies who have caught on now, and now they're depending on me for hockey bets. And so tonight I'm totally going to go 1 for 7. But,
Yeah, all good things must come to an end. That's for sure. But yeah, NFL playoffs, you got the AFC, NFC title games this weekend. You taking Chiefs or Bills?
I hope whoever comes out of the NFC wins, and I really don't care too much at this point. I really don't want to see the Chiefs win, but the Bills I think would somehow be worse, because the Chiefs have won before. This would be a three-peat. Nobody wants to see that, but for me as a Texans fan and as a CJ Stroud fan and as a Lamar fan, having Josh Allen go out there and get a ring really kind of paint it all in a negative light. And so I hope whoever wins the NFC title game. I like both of those teams. I like Philly. I love what they've got going on. I think they might be the best overall team, honestly. But Philly might have the worst quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I just, no offense, I just don't want to see Chiefs and Eagles.
No, nobody does.
It's dude, we've seen this before. We don't want to do it again. But Commanders and Bills would provide. I mean, Could you imagine? Here's what's the potential, though, because the Super Bowl's in New Orleans. Could you imagine Philadelphia Eagles fans and Buffalo Bills fans taking over NOLA?
That would be crazy. And I mean, even if it were Baltimore, that would have been like Philly, Baltimore Super Bowl. That would have been kind of like some hostile fan bases. Like that would have been crazy. But yeah, Philly and Buffalo would be quite the Super Bowl to take place in NOLA.
Yeah, it'd be quite the party, that's for sure. So also shout out to Isaac Tesseloff for being part of the Reese's Senior Bowl 2025. Got named. He accepted his invitation. So got that.
Good for him.
Yeah, we're here for Aaron Torres. We'll get to a few of your chats, folks. Play that, and then we'll close up shop and talk more about all the great things going on here at Alumni Hall. This chat went off the rails, so then I just stopped.
Bringing up Livy was the mistake.
Yeah, it usually is. Anytime that stuff gets mentioned, and then the chat just has its own little show over there. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I was going to say this. Lucille Layer says, Andrew, how do we get the Arkansas versus the Savannah Bananas?
So you're not going to get Arkansas versus the Savannah Bananas, but the Party Animals, who are in apparently the same league. I don't really know how it all works. I'm not as tapped in on that world, but the Party Animals, which my understanding is they're kind of the Savannah Bananas, like they're all in the same league now. They will be coming to Baum-Walker Stadium, I think. Sometime I can't remember if it's in May or June, but they're coming to Baum-Walker not too long from now. So I'm sure it'll be an awesome crowd. Those games are hard to get tickets to. They're really, it's tough. My sister had to win a raffle just to go to one of them. So you're going to get something like that in Baum-Walker Stadium this year. So that'll be cool.
Yeah. Has any Razorback played? Because they're former players. Because Arkansas had some players play for the Harlem Globetrotters, right. Brandon Dean did. But I'm always wondering.
I don't know if there are any. I don't know of them.
Yeah,
the only person I know that plays for any of those teams is a guy, Zach Watson, who played at LSU, but he roomed with my buddy at LSU, and he's now playing for one of those teams. And he's always posting these TikTok videos and stuff. I've had to unfollow him on Instagram because I'm like, all right,
relax, yeah, right, relax and chill out. So. Yeah, again, the chats, you guys got to relax on stuff, man. I just kept trying to go through. I was like, hey, maybe we can get some good questions in. Nope. It's just nonsense. And
is this the real Brandon Marcello right here?
It might be, actually.
But he says he had to enter a raffle. Yeah, so it's hard. It's exclusive. It's really hard to get to those events. But yeah, apparently it's August. I guess it was further away than I realized. But yeah, shout out Brandon Marcello, who's gonna be trying to go.
Yeah.
It's tough to get, and it's a really cool thing. I know they've my brother went to it in Minute Maid Park. My sister went to it in Alex Box Stadium in Baton Rouge. I mean, if you have kids of any age, it's definitely worth your while. And I mean, it's cool. I mean, they're good baseball players. There's guys that are throwing 98, and there's all these cool rules and stuff. If someone in the stands catches, if there's 2 outs in the ninth, and if someone in the stands catches a foul ball, out, game over. That'll be how it ends.
See, yeah, that'd be great. And so appreciate you, Brandon Marcello, tuning in to hear us talk about Razorback basketball and baseball and a lot of other nonsense. But yeah, we appreciate it. I feel like if a Razorback ever did get on the Savannah Bananas and there was a return trip,
that'd be awesome,
man, it'd be so cool. I don't know who would be the best former Razorback to be on a team like that.
Someone like a Peyton Holt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone that's just or a Hunter Wilson. You remember him?
Hunter
just
Wilson
someone who
would be
had
that
kind of personality. Yeah, I think Peyton Holt would. Matter of fact, we need to get that speak that into existence. Peyton Holt with the Party Animals or with the Savannah Bananas, whoever.
Dude, he pulled the deke play after that. He's built for it.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I didn't even think about the deke play. I was really just thinking personality. But yeah, he kind of checks all the boxes that you'd be looking for.
Yeah. So, all right, folks, we're here at Alumni Hall. We know we'll talk to you more about it. We also had a chance to catch up with Aaron Torres of Fox Sports Radio as well as the Aaron Torres podcast as Razorback basketball. Nice win, but still have some work to do. And nobody's more piped into all of college basketball, especially Razorback basketball, than our guy Aaron Torres. So let's go ahead and hear what he had to say about the Razorback basketball season so far.
Fans, we know that there's still a lot going on with John Calipari, and his first season as the Razorback head coach hasn't really gone according to plan, but a lot of games left, hopefully a lot of time left for Cal and the experiment at Arkansas. Well, let's talk more about it right now as we go ahead and welcome in a very special guest and a good friend who knows a little bit about the game of basketball, especially the Razorback basketball program. Of course, it is Aaron Torres of the Aaron Torres podcast. And AT, it's been a long time, man. How you been?
It has been a long time. Listen, I feel bad about everything going on. Obviously, most notably the injury earlier this week. I'm bummed. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. I know everybody listening is, so I'm not trying to say that I feel your pain, but I feel your pain, man, because I was as excited about anybody for this season, and it goes without saying, certainly has not gone as I expected, certainly let alone anybody else that's obviously listening to us today.
So let's just start there, and we'll get into some specifics, but how has this gone so poorly? I mean, we can talk about a lot of different things, but in your mind, it's one thing to struggle, but it's one thing to just be awful. And this team being just as awful as they've been, why is that? Like, what went wrong for Cal in year one at Arkansas?
Well, listen, I'm as surprised as anybody because, listen, when the roster got put together in the spring, I liked the pieces. Now, you thought shooting could be a little bit of an issue, but Nelly Davis had obviously shot the ball really well. I thought DJ last year, it was more injury than his incapability of shooting, and plus he's a freshman in the SEC. And so I liked the roster comp. I mean, you could pick apart any roster that gets put together in April and May, but I like the composition. I think to me, it feels obvious. And I think what I keep saying on my show, it's two things together, but people only focus on one of them. Okay. So the 3-point shooting has not been good. You don't need me to tell you, blah, blah, blah. I mean, especially in league play, it has not been good. What I think maybe an Arkansas fan realizes, but I don't think maybe if you don't watch the team day to day, game to game realizes, they're also a really bad rebounding team. And like, you don't have to be John Wooden or Coach K to know that when you miss a lot of shots and you don't get a lot of rebounds, it really leaves you kind of no margin for error. And the example I keep using, like Texas A&M this year, they're not a perfect team by any stretch. I think they're a fine middle of the pack, big SEC team. But like Buzz Williams knew when he was putting that roster together, hey, we're not going to be a great 3-point shooting team. So we have to be a great rebounding team to get second, third, fourth opportunities and take advantage of things that way. I think on paper, that was the intention with Arkansas is, hey, if there's shooting deficiencies, we'll still have Jonas Adu. We'll have Adu Thiero. I still keep calling him Thiero. We'll have Adu Thiero. We'll have Trevin Brazil, but it hasn't equated. And, listen, obviously the Missouri game was probably something resembling a low point. But I mean, those other games, like I just go back to that Florida game where it's like they just couldn't get a stop and then a rebound. Like they could get the stop, but then they couldn't get the rebound, or they would get a score, but then they could. And the rebounding with the bad shooting to me has been the key. I don't have the stats in front of me as of today, but the last time I looked it up, something like 280th in second chance points, rebounding, etc. Obviously, that's weighted a lot towards the smaller schools in the sport, towards the bottom. So they're towards the bottom in the power conferences and especially the SEC of second chance points and rebounding. And I think that coupled with the shooting is, in my opinion, the two reasons combined why the struggles have been the way that they are.
And I think it's weird for our Arkansas fans to kind of go through because of the expectation that came along with it. And again, it goes back to if you're a team that's on the bubble, or if you're a team that's sitting at 3-2 right now, or 2-3 even, you're not pumped up. Maybe it's not going as good as what you thought, but you can at least say, hey, SEC's really good. Just get to the tournament. That's all that matters. But I don't think anybody would have guessed in a million years, even the most vengeful Kentucky fans would have guessed that Arkansas would be missing the NCAA tournament. But that's the type of team that they are right now. They're a team that is set to miss the NCAA tournament. So knowing that with Cal and the expectation that he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's accomplished everything that you could possibly accomplish. But does this impact his legacy? Does this impact at all the way that he's viewed when it comes to the success that he's had, not just at Arkansas, but everywhere? Because he is amazing, and he's had some down years, but for this to be the first one at a major school like Arkansas with all the expectations, does it hurt his legacy as a coach?
I think the legacy is still being written. Unless you believe that this will be his last year coaching. And listen, I said something on my show that certain Arkansas outlets perceived as me saying that he should step down. I just said he looks miserable. And I said at 65 years old with probably 30 or 40 million in the bank, if you're miserable, I don't know why you want to keep doing this. So I didn't say that he should retire or he is retiring, but to answer your question directly, I think, listen, everybody's going to have a bad year or two. Doesn't matter who you are. I mean, listen, I'm a UConn alum. UConn's they're going to make the tournament, but you watch them, they're not playing very good right now. So everybody has down years and bad years. I think the only way that this impacts him is if he either A, just retires after this year, which I don't think is going to happen at all, or if he never gets it going in Arkansas. Now, if you want to be glasses half full, it's certainly not going well this year. But as long as you have John Calipari as your head coach, you're always going to have a shot, and you're always going to have a roster that's at the very least very talented. And even like I was talking to somebody. I'll just say it. I was talking to somebody pretty close to Darius Acuff the other day, the 5-star who's coming to Arkansas next year. And he told me, hey, look, man, this kid's been wanting to play for Cal since as long as he's been watching basketball. And so I think it's easy to forget now, but in these moments, there are always going to want to be players that want to play for John Calipari. And as long as John Calipari is coaching, he is going to have a very talented roster. Now, does that equate to wins? Clearly not necessarily, because we see what's happening right now this season. But I don't think that just because this team is headed in the wrong direction, there isn't a lot of reason for hope. It doesn't mean that a year from now it could be completely different and you're sitting at 4-1 after 5 SEC games or whatever, because there's always going to be the talent. And so it's early for me to say that the legacy is going to be tarnished or anything like that, because I don't believe that the legacy will be, or I don't believe the Arkansas chapter of his career is going to be completely written after this year.
Speaking with Aaron Torres of the Aaron Torres podcast here on Inside Arkansas Live. So, AT, the thing about Cal that I've heard from just nothing but Kentucky fans like crazy, and even some other people, is that, he's lost his fastball. He's not actually a good coach. He's not actually good X's and O's. He's just a guy who always had the most talent or the most athletic team and just kind of roll the ball out there and see what happened. He hires a bunch of yes men around him as assistant coaches. That's been one of the criticisms that's been thrown a lot towards Razorback fans and people who support Cal. But when you look at him as that type of coach, because Arkansas had Eric Musselman, who a lot of people still love. I still love Muss. You love Muss. We all love Muss. And he was a really good X's and O's coach, having them ready at the right times, prepping, all of that. But do you think that there's some truth to that with Cal, of maybe he's just not as good of an X's and O's coach, or going up against some of these other really great coaches in the SEC and being able to outcoach them? It's more just about the roster and the talent that he has surrounding him.
What I do think is fair is that the SEC is way better than it has ever been at any point in the history of the sport, really, this league. And so I think what it's a byproduct of is, like, I do think that he was the guy that was building a roster from scratch every spring before it was cool and trendy to do so, is I think that, in 2013, 2017, and I'm just using those as hypothetical seasons, you could be far from a finished product and still start 4-1 in SEC play, start 5-0 in SEC play, because the teams and the coaching and the resources and the players just weren't as good. I mean, look at this year, John, look at this year, right? Just look at the 5 games to start SEC play where Arkansas started 0-5. You have Tennessee was number 1 in the country when that game was played. They've struggled a little bit, whatever. They were number 1 in the country. Ole Miss, you're sitting there when they play Arkansas, they're a fringe top 25 team, and how good are they really? Yeah, they're pretty freaking good, because 2 games later, they go to Alabama and beat Alabama. Florida was a team that I thought they were fine coming into I thought they were fine even in SEC play. I was like, what are they, like the 6th best team? No. That's a real team that I think could realistically go to the Final Four. So those were just your first 3 SEC games. Obviously, the LSU game, that to me was the turning point. That was the one you had to win. You did not find a way, no excuses, whatever, even though there was that weird Trevin Brazil flagrant. But that's another conversation for another day. We're not going to get into that. And then the most recent game, the Missouri game. I know Missouri just lost to Texas. Missouri's a really good team. Dennis Gates is a really good coach. And I know last year they weren't good, but they're really good this year, I promise you. And so, again, what I do believe is that, listen, I don't believe that schematically he's ever been the greatest coach that's ever walked the face of the earth, but most guys aren't. You talk to other coaches, like Coach K wasn't the greatest schematic coach, but he recruited well. He knew how to motivate. He knew how to put players in position to succeed, whatever. Pretty much any coach you could make that argument about in the history of basketball, okay? And so what I do believe is I do believe the SEC is way tougher than it's ever been. It's not an excuse for the start that they had when they were fully healthy before the most recent injury, but the SEC is tougher than it's ever been. And I do think with the staff, I'd like to see maybe some younger juice to it. I know I can't speak to what goes on behind the scenes. And I will say I was an advocate of hiring Kenny Payne. Kentucky fans will tell you otherwise, but when Kentucky fans struggled over the last couple of years, they said part of it was the loss of Kenny Payne. So you can't, do that and then now say that he's the worst coach that's ever walked the face of the earth. So, Kenny Payne, okay, I understand it. Chin Coleman was with him. Okay, I understand it. But now, you're talking about, 3, 4, 5 coaches that are all in their 50s, 60s, whatever, kind of towards the tail end of their careers. And it's like, I don't know how to say this, but like, it's the cliche thing to say, but I think it's true. Where are the new ideas? Where's the new this? Where's the new that? You look at, as an example, somebody like Nate Oates. Nate Oates over the offseason was struggling with the defensive side of the court and went to the NBA, brought somebody that he had no relationship with because he thought he was the best man for the job. So I'm not going to sit here and say that this coach needs to be fired and he needs to be replaced with this guy. But I do think, listen, it's a lot of guys that have been around Cal for a while. I think that has some benefits, but I also think it has its drawbacks. Can you get younger guys, but then also are you going to listen to them and are you going to empower them to do what they need to do? Those would be the questions if there was a staff shakeup in the offseason. I think some of that is justified, but I also think, again, some of it is just the SEC is really, 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 really freaking good, man.
Well, AT, another thing that I feel like we're just talking about disappointments, but that's what the Razorbacks are in general right now. But can you make sense?
Are you okay? Are you doing okay, buddy?
No,
just be honest.
I'm not. No? I haven't been for a while. I feel like, that big win Razorback football had against Tennessee was such a short-lived thing. And I think that's what Arkansas has been going through. They've had short-lived little wins, but it's been a while, man. It's been a while.
And I'll say this is, and I've said this on my show, is, listen, I've been a Cal advocate. I've been a Cal defender. Before the injury, I did start calling like Arkansas. I hate to say this, I started calling them the black cloud of college basketball, not because I think John Calipari is a black cloud or because I think the players are bad people or whatever. To me, it was just as simple as because you know how it is. Every time you talk about them, there's a certain segment of people that, first of all, there's obviously the Arkansas fans that are just bummed and disappointed. That sucks. But then there's the other group of people that's like telling you how they were right and you were wrong and you should have never trusted this guy, whatever. And prior to the injury, and really, I think the LSU game for me, again, was the turning point, was prior to that injury, I did kind of hang my hat on, it's easy to forget this now, but Kentucky last year won 7 of its final 8 games of the regular season, including wins at Tennessee, at Auburn, Alabama at home. I mean, these were great teams last season. And so my whole thing was, it might be pretty in January, but let's get to February with a shot and let's see if we can make a run. So clearly, listen, I was wrong. I'm going to take an L for it. But even as an outsider who doesn't talk about it every single day like you do, although this is obviously probably the biggest story in college basketball, I could feel the weight of it. And so I can't even imagine how you're feeling right now, my man. But just know my thoughts are with you, okay? And my thoughts are with all of Razorback Nation.
Yeah. It just seems like that 2021, 2022 year where Arkansas went 9-4 in football and went to the Elite Eight in basketball and went to the World Series in baseball was just eons ago. Not really good vibes right now. But here's the deal, is that there's been some disappointments, obviously, with Razorback basketball. But one of the ones that I think is really tough for anyone to wrap their head around is Nelly Davis, because he's a guy that was the number one transfer portal guy that you got. He averaged 20 points a game last year. He was on Final Four teams. He was the guy. And I would even make the argument that he was probably the one that people were most excited to see here in a Razorback uniform. Boogie Flan's out for the year. We do know that. So maybe this is the time that Nelly Davis step up. But what's going on with Nelly Davis? How did he go from a guy that not only was averaging 20, but scoring in a lot of different ways to now he's literally averaging about 5 points a game and shooting pretty awfully? Like, what happened here?
It's just that you feel bad for the kid. I mean, and what I would say is, I was excited to see him. I did believe he was one of the better players in the portal. I thought it was smart by Cal to not load up on freshmen, but to find that balance. And it just hasn't clicked. Now, as you said, and I know you guys did a show earlier this week on, trying to look for some positive signs with the injury, and we're never rooting against Boogie Flan. But one thing I did say is, like, Nelly Davis, if you don't have confidence, guess what? Shoot your little freaking heart out, buddy, because just keep shooting because there's nobody else to take that offensive burden off of you. And so maybe this is the kickstart that he needs. You never want to see an injury. We're not advocating we're not pro injury here on the Inside Arkansas show here. But I just look at it and I do wonder. I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I mean, I know that the wrist injury to start the preseason got off to a slow start, then was lacking confidence, and we've all played sports, and I do wonder if that could have been a part of it. Is once you start slow, you can't really get going. So I don't have a good answer. Maybe you guys do. You cover it every single day. It's one of the most perplexing things to me. Like I could have seen a scenario where, hey, Boogie Flan is playing the way that he was prior to the injury. Hey, DJ Wagner, I think, has actually been pretty consistent, all things considered. Somebody's got to take a back seat. So instead of 19 a game, it's 12 a game. Stepping up into the SEC, it's tougher than playing for Florida Atlantic. But I did not see this, man. And again, I wish I had a good answer. I don't. And frankly, just to be honest, like I feel bad for the kid. I mean, obviously he had big dreams coming to Arkansas and playing in the SEC, and clearly through, about the little under the halfway point of SEC play, he has certainly not only not lived up to, the fans' expectations, but his own expectations. Just feel bad for him.
All right. So I got to ask you about this. We are going to Lexington for the first time. Sure. For this Arkansas-Kentucky game. I don't know if you knew that. Arkansas goes to Kentucky, plays in Rupp. Yeah, apparently that's a game that a lot of people are looking forward to. So that one is going to be, for a lot of reasons, fascinating. Mark Pope and what he's done in Kentucky, they got a solid team, and there's no doubt that they're doing really well, getting to the NCAA tournament, had some nice wins and everything. But the welcoming for John Calipari is going to be It's going to be something. It's going to be something. So I guess my question to you is, when it comes to storylines, is there a time that you can think of a welcoming back of another coach who's on the opposing team that even comes close? And you can even bring in any sport. But has there ever been a time in any sport where a former coach of one team is now on the other sidelines coaching the other team coming into their home building? Because I would have a hard time believing that there's been a bigger one than this one's going to be happening in Rupp Arena.
Well, Lane Kiffin had a golf ball thrown at him at Tennessee.
Good point.
So until Calipari gets hit, until he has to pull out his 9-iron to protect himself, it's going to be tough to. No, the only one that really does come to mind, and if people don't remember this, go find the videos. When Chris Beard left Texas Tech for Texas and went back the first time, it was vile and it was hostile. Because the thing about Cal in Arkansas is, yes, Cal left on his own, but one, I think first of all, I think there is a percentage of the Kentucky fan base that's just appreciative of what he did. I think there's certainly a fan base that, because he's struggling, is, they won't say it publicly, but is sympathetic. They wanted him to come back with a top 10 team to beat him in Rupp Arena and prove that they got the right guy. That's clearly not going to happen. Chris Beard, though, is the only one that comes, because they were shaking the bus, and you talk to people who were there that night, they said like the players look scared, Chris Beard looks scared, because that was, and the Southwest and the old Southwest Conference rivalries better than I do, but obviously for a coach to leave Texas Tech for Texas, it's a little bit different, and it wasn't like any percentage of the Texas Tech fan base wanted Chris Beard to leave. It wasn't like Cal, where some of the fan base was kind of over it. They wanted him to stay and they wanted him to retire there. And I can tell you, because I remember like a week before that thing happened, they were convinced he wasn't leaving. Oh, we're building this facility and he loves it here in Lubbock and blah, 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 and this and that. And then he left because it's his alma mater and he's certainly allowed to. But that was really hostile and angry. This one, I think, is going to be very hostile. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of anger because, again, just because of, frankly, the way that Arkansas is playing. If they were, whatever, they're going to be 18 games into the season and they're 16-2 and they're ranked 9th in the country, and all those guys that Cal brought are playing at the top of their level, I think it'd be a different deal. I still think it's going to be hostile. I'm jealous that I can't be there. I was going to try to make it myself and I was unable to, just with some travel stuff. But I do think it's going to be hostile. But I think because Arkansas is struggling, and I think the other thing too, I'll say this, and I don't know if you've gotten this vibe, John. I think a lot of the Kentucky fans, I don't want to say they miss the former players, but I think there's a degree and a level of respect for DJ Wagner, Adu Thiero, and Big Z, where there's no anger. There's no DJ Wagner stabbed us in the back. It's like, no, we know you've been Cal's guy since the day you came out of the womb. We understand why you left. We miss you. We wish we had you as a part of what we're doing. So I think it's going to be an interesting vibe, to say the least. And I think most of the vitriol will certainly be aimed towards Cal. Like I said, I'm jealous that I can't be there, man. That was one when the SEC schedule came out. I thought for sure I'd be able to make it. I haven't been back to Rupp Arena in about 5 or 6 years, and I was hoping to get to that one, but unfortunately, I will not be able to.
Well,
so you'll have to, post a lot of good pictures and videos and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be sure to. Well, if it needs be, I may hire you as security, because I think I'm going to probably need some when I'm getting there. Because it's been wild. It's been wild hanging out and talking with Big Blue.
Have you got any interesting DMs like you better not show up?
Oh, you literally have no idea. Like I've gotten 2 death threats. It's been pretty wild.
Really?
Mm-hmm. 2 death threats. Former baseball players just saying pretty awful things.
Former Kentucky baseball players?
Yeah. You're just Kentucky fans. I've gotten some people that have attacked every bit of my physical appearance and everything. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to that, being there in Lexington, going into the enemy territory.
Most Kentucky fans are very, very, very nice people, and I think I will say I think the other thing that is becoming clear is what I said all off season. I never understood this argument of like, why are you mad at Cal? You wanted him gone. He found another job, so that saved you 30 or 40 million in buyout money. And I think a lot of Kentucky fans are starting to realize, independent of how Arkansas is playing, he actually did us a solid by leaving under the circumstances that he did. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to say at least.
Yeah.
So
I just think a lot of people just want to be right and justified in the way they felt, and maybe this is the way to do it. But should be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes. Who knows? Maybe Arkansas can finally start winning some SEC games. We'll have to wait and see. But we always love catching up with Aaron Torres. It's Aaron Torres of the Aaron Torres Podcast. You can follow him on social media and on Twitter at Aaron_Torres. But AT, hopefully you enjoy the rest of the basketball season. I know that we sure will. And hopefully Arkansas has some positivity going their way heading into the season. I'm just trying to make stuff up, so I'm trying to make it work. But either way,
one thing I will say, as somebody who's followed Cal's career, even during the years where they've struggled, this is around the time where, one, he usually pulls out a big road win that nobody's expecting. Last year was at Auburn. And his teams do, in the regular season, because Kentucky fans will always correct you on their recent NCAA tournament success, but in the regular season, in general, his teams do play pretty well in February. So I'm hoping just for, I don't want to see anybody's team struggle. I'm hoping that there's at least any sort of positivity here over the next 5 or 6 weeks toward the back end of the season.
Guess we'll find out here soon. Aaron Torres of the Aaron Torres Podcast. Appreciate you, buddy. We'll be catching up with you here soon, man. All right?
All right, my man. Have a great afternoon. Travel safe. Be safe. And hopefully we talk again. I mean, it sounds like it, it's not guaranteed, but I certainly hope we talk again soon.
We will be. Trust me. We will be. There'll be plenty of stuff to discuss. So, but stay safe out there, my man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, again, that was Aaron Torres of Fox Sports Radio joining us here on the show as we are live from Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville, 3417 North College Avenue here in Fayetteville. And you can also shop online at InsideArkansas.com/Alumni Hall. Got a very special guest here on the show. We got Peyton here from Alumni Hall himself. So what's up, man?
Doing good. How about yourself, John?
Doing good. If you've recognized his face before, he's where you call yourself a student section leader?
Kind of. I mean, yeah, but not really at the same time. There's been a lot of faces. I'm usually the frequent one that's usually on TV.
Yeah. You got the overalls and the sunglasses, right? And
yes, sir.
And the Pigs hat usually stays pretty consistent.
Yeah, as always. I mean, I also want to huge shout out to Lance and Lindsay Fairchild, the owners of Pigs brand, really hooking me up throughout the years and everything with these awesome hats. I mean, they keep me and my family all good and everything. So I really appreciate them.
Hey, listen, it's just one of the many things you guys have here at Alumni Hall.
Even tonight, we have a bunch of red shirts for tonight's Pack the Bud for women's gymnastics and everything. I mean, something like this. And I mean, we also have plenty, like even outside of gymnastics, track and field, basketball, even like the nicer stuff like Nike, Peter Millar, which is our online stuff and everything, and even Charlie Hustle as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got it all. In fact, every time I come in here, it's like you don't get less things; you just rearrange it into a different way.
Of course, I mean, we always keep it nice and stocked and everything, and even if we can't really find stuff in here, I mean, online store is really helpful and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it easy for not only coming here in store, but if you're a Razorback fan, because we have a lot of people who
Oh yeah.
aren't in the Northwest Arkansas area. We got people in Dallas, people in Little Rock,
Oh,
people
of course, yeah.
people Oklahoma City, all over the place. So yeah, it makes it really great to where if you want to have your Razorback apparel and wearing it where you're at, if you can't find, I don't think that there's really many stores that are just around the United States that are selling a bunch of Razorback gear.
I mean, Alumni Hall really, even outside of our store as well, LSU, Tennessee, Auburn, they have everything stocked up and everything. Even in the Midwest as well, we also have stores in like Michigan as well and Pennsylvania. I mean, they are everywhere, and I mean, they make sure that even if the stuff like they might not have at like the actual our Hog Heaven, we might even have here.
Yeah.
Everything, and I mean, it's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
you never come here empty-handed.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy too because every time we've been here, we've seen people know. Like Jordan Weaver was here earlier today. So
hi man, Corey.
Yeah,
I got a huge shout out to him as well. I mean, he came in here and he was like, he had something. He bought something for each rotation, and I mean, even huge shout out to him. I mean, changing it up and everything, and even keeping the crowd into the meet as well.
Yeah.
I mean, even the stuff that he does is fantastic.
Oh yeah, and they got a lot of pressure on them tonight. If we're a big gymnastics meet, and between that and of course the Razorback basketball game tomorrow night too.
Huge.
For those of you who are going to either or both of those events, make sure you got your Razorback red because they have plenty of red here and white and black and gray and pretty much every single color.
Any color. Here.
Yeah,
I mean it's awesome.
Yeah, so you are, since you're in the student section, you're front row. And you work at Alumni Hall. It's almost like I want to ask this: are you a Razorback fan? Is that what you are?
Slight bit. I mean, even it's funny because I'm also known for the Razorback tattoo on the backside of my leg as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
Because when did you get that?
So it was back in July of 23. Me and my grandpa and we got matching tattoos. I mean, he is the reason why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
So as in like little nod to him and everything, he was like, let's try to get a matching tattoo. And I was like, of course. And mine will say I am because he was.
Okay.
And his says he is because I am.
That's really cool.
It's fantastic. I mean, love him to death. And even like at a young age and everything, it's even my favorite photo is just me in his arms with all of our Razorback stuff. Even that kid at a young age always wanted to be a Razorback, and here he is today.
Yeah,
21 years old, about ready to graduate here soon, and I can't even tell him enough thank you for what he's done for me and everything.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's always the connections. I feel like people when they become Razorback fans, almost always is because a parent, grandparents, a relative, or something growing up into it. It's not a lifestyle for the weak at heart to be a Razorback fan.
I mean, with no professional sports teams here, I mean, it's Razorbacks through and through. I mean, you will never come here not expecting like a huge crowd for a Razorback game.
Yeah,
I know it's been like you guys have been saying earlier this year, there wasn't really much of an attendance, even though there might not have been.
Mm-hmm.
That place still rocks every time out.
Oh yeah,
even like you can get in. Bud Walton Arena always gets into it.
Yeah, the energy's always there for sure, and that's why it's always cool because coming into here, if it's basketball season, you got even basketball jerseys. It's kind of crazy to see like player names on basketball jerseys. Forever you couldn't do that.
Yeah,
but you got that. Of course, these new Razorback baseball uniforms that have just come in. Got the camo hats right now. We're gonna have the other baseball hats.
We'll be having the red ones, the Cardinal ones, come in here pretty soon. Even the childhood awareness ones, the yellow ones. We also get those in as well and everything. I don't know if we're getting the practice ones as well, those gray ones. But we might have a restock on those.
Yeah, because do they usually do a St. Patrick's Day too sometimes?
That's through the university.
Okay.
That's usually promotional stuff.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was like a consistent thing or not. I just know they go through the different hats. Yeah. Year. So you have that. Also, I guess you have Yeti coolers too, which I know people have been always big on those.
Oh yeah, that a bunch of Yetis. We actually just got a restock of Yetis in today as well. Big tumblers and everything, and I mean like you said, we basically have everything here at Alumni Hall Fayetteville. Yeah,
and that's why we love coming out here each and every month because we'll be back out here next month too.
And of course,
I mean, if we're going to talk about the Razorbacks, you might as well do it around a bunch of Razorback apparel.
Oh, of course.
I mean, what better place to do it than that? So, exactly. But so where are you originally from?
So I'm actually from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised there and everything. So it's kind of weird because I also grew up in Bearcat, Buckeye country as well. So I was one of the survivors of all that stuff. Of course, I have friends that go to the University of the
Ohio State University,
and all that. So they're on a high right now. And
I bet so.
I have a buddy that plays OSU football.
Oh,
so
that's
it's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, again, that's also what makes this place unique. I will say you're one of the few I actually knew from Ohio that came down to Arkansas.
Yeah,
Like, it seems like everybody's from Arkansas or Dallas
Yeah,
or Texas at
that
least.
or Shreveport, Louisiana as well.
Yep. Yep.
Actually, funny enough, I grew up about 30 minutes away from Benintendi, where you went to high school at, and
That's right.
in
Okay.
Madeira,
Okay.
and everything. So
Yeah. He was, I guess he was one of the few that's from Ohio that came down here. And I think he's doing pretty well.
Oh, he's
last time I checked.
He's doing good in Chicago and everything.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite apparel here? I mean, I know you're a Pigs hat guy.
I'm a Pigs hat guy, but man, the Nike stuff. I mean, just like you were saying about these new baseball jerseys, these are just awesome. I mean, Nike, they always come out with some really nice stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm a huge Nike guy and everything. So I'm wearing the gray shoes right now and everything. So the Heather Grays, those are really comfy and everything. So I mean, everything in here is awesome. I mean, that's one thing about like working here and everything is like
you want it all.
You want it all, but you only have X amount of money.
Yeah,
you know?
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah,
because you guys even have the plastic hog hats too. That I know people are always asking about those.
There was at one point, like there was like a year that we didn't even have them. I was like, where are these things at?
Yeah,
and then we finally got to restocking them, and we sell those like hotcakes and everything.
Oh yeah, if you're a Razorback fan, you got to have at least one of those in your house.
Yeah.
So
I've also seen like the new foam heads as well. Like,
yes,
they've those come out pretty well and everything. And I always see fans they have bedazzle them.
Yeah,
and there's some they get creative with those. Like,
and that's what I appreciate is like adding a modification to stuff like that and making it unique.
I mean, they make it unique to anything and everything.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Makes it creative. Well, but man, we'll appreciate of course Alumni all having us out here today. It's always fun to talk about, especially for a big Razorback weekend. And folks, again, if you couldn't make it out here during the show, be sure to come stop by 3417 North College Avenue right here. When are your hours? When are you open?
So we open around 10 o'clock every day, and then we're open here until 9 o'clock. And during the football season, we usually, when they're home, they're open at 8 a.m.
Okay.
Everything.
So you can get your apparel today. You can come by tomorrow morning, get your apparel there too. And I mean, anything and everything that you need from Razorback apparel. If you can't find it here, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. I mean, again, we sell anything and everything.
Yeah, I can tell. You may have to take over the Whole Foods over here next door too, and just to continue to build.
I mean, from our shipment today, I mean, we got a bunch of Champion in today and everything. We might have to.
Yeah,
it might have to.
Yeah, it might have to. So yeah, it's going to be a great Razorback weekend. But yes, appreciate Alumni Hall having us out here today. Again, you can also shop them online if you can't make it in store at insidearkansas.com/alumni hall. And it's going to be a great weekend. So we appreciate it, Peyton, as always.
No, thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So Andrew else had to go and cover the Razorback baseball scrimmage, which should be starting up right now. So give him an early day. Let him go out there and work. So
that's another thing for this weekend as well. I mean, gymnastics, men's basketball. I mean, even baseball scrimmages, and that's right around the corner too. In February,
less than a month away. They'll be here before we know it. So,
of course.
But appreciate everybody listening and watching, and be sure to subscribe to us here on Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page, as well as all on our social medias. You can subscribe to all of our podcasts wherever podcasts are found, whether it's Spot at the Palace, Inside Arkansas Live, or the Bombastic Podcast. Check us out on social media, Inside Arkansas, and also check out our website, InsideArkansas.com, for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information for all things Razorback. So for Andrew Ellis, those are our guy Peyton here from Alumni Hall. I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Next Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you then.